Well, it is the night many of us have been waiting for all off season. So glad you could join us for tonight's running the sixth Daytona 500 for the Join APS Cup Series live for the Elite Racing Network. Yes, you guys have made it. Pat yourself on the back. We are just moments away from getting the green flag started at the virtual World Center of Racing. 44 drivers, all with one shot to win tonight's biggest prize. I'm joined in the booth by my great friend and colleague there, Rishav. Rishav, tonight, more than any other night, is an important night because tonight can solidify yourself in the history books for the Elite Racing Network, and getting that virtual win at Daytona very much going to be on the mind for all these drivers. I cannot wait to get this thing underway.
Yeah, tonight is huge because whoever ends up victorious and picking up that checkered flag joins a very exclusive group of Elite Racing League Daytona 500 winners. Just 5 drivers have accomplished it before, and we've never had a repeat winner either. So in this, the 5th running of the Daytona 500 here, we could see a repeat winner for the first time. We could see a new name added to that list as we continue to build the history of this event. It's been pretty incredible the way it's grown from year to year, starting all the way back in 2019, and we've been running 2 per year since then. And yeah, it's been incredible to see not just this league grow, but this network grow around this league. We've got some incredible drivers joining us for this race, some of them part-time, some of them ready to start a full season attempt at the title. So we're going to start it all right here, and it all kicks off at the World Center of Racing here in Daytona Beach, Florida. I, for one, cannot wait. Glorious views from up high in Daytona. Great view of that lake there as you're seeing cars right now just finishing up with their final practice session. Last couple of laps, making sure you're getting all your system checks in here before the race, because once they advance that session in about 5 minutes or so, that's it. The green flag is getting ready to wave.
Yes, the green flag, which we cannot wait here. We'll be talking about the roster here momentarily as we take a look at some live pictures of that practice session about to end here momentarily. But new for this season are those cars that you see on the track here. We are racing the next gen here. We did not have this type of car for last year's Daytona 500, as we see some flight contact and already trouble in the corner there. These guys just letting off some steam. That's good to do it now, because you don't want to have that happen early in the Daytona 500. Don't want to have your chance ruined like we saw in the 2021 Daytona 500 on lap 14.
Yeah, definitely. So we did this past season, though not last year, run in these next-gen cars. We see a little bit of chaos, but the package is so different to what we did last season. That was a pure trial run. That wasn't really the next-gen car, I think many people will argue. This is a completely new package. This is what they will actually be running in 1 week's time here. 2 weeks' time, excuse me. For the actual running of the Daytona 500. So this is a great kind of precursor to the real event that we're going to see here. Gives us some kind of idea. And yeah, we do have a couple of real-world drivers joining the field here. Kind of tough to see there. We'll see if he takes the track. But a very famous and very successful racer. There you see the number backing out there. Is going to be joining us here for his second straight plate race here on the Elite Racing Network. So I'm looking forward to watching how, Dale Earnhardt Jr. works his way up from 44th on the grid.
Oh, my goodness. I just can't believe it. For the second Super Speedway race in a row for the Elite Racing Network, we do have a 2-time real-world Daytona 500 champion joining us here. Dale Earnhardt Jr., yes, is on the roster. He's in car number 44. He has some work to do. Not going to be as easy as what we saw with him and teammates Jeff Green and Tyler Fode controlling the race that we saw at Talladega. He definitely has his work cut out for him starting deep in this field, but a lot of these drivers can learn a thing or two from what they used to call the Pied Piper. We'll see how he's been able to work his way up to the front here tonight.
Yeah, that's going to be a joy to watch, and of course over 200 laps, you've got a lot of opportunity to move forward, change things up, and we saw in the duels, the way that you could actually generate runs. It wasn't like last season where on the plate tracks especially, it was a bottom lane, it was a single lane affair, and so that's kind of what they were trying to avoid, and we've kind of found that package that allows them to drive side by side. You can create runs, and we saw it that even cars all the way back from 11th or 12th position can move forward with enough support on the inside or outside lane. So a lot to look forward to.
So again, we are just moments away from getting this started. We will have a uh, traditional national anthem brought to you here live in just a few moments, as well as a flyover before we go through tonight's roster. And again, as we already mentioned, 44 cars going to take the green flag here. That is a big field, very much a big field here. Four more cars than what we actually see in the real world here. I think, although we have obviously our favorites here. I think tonight is going to be hard to pick this a favorite there, Rashov, and I say that because this package, you're right, it's dramatically different than what we saw last season.
Yeah, it really is, and that means it's a different car. It means different skill levels are going to come out. I expect we're still going to see some strong plate racers though out on the racetrack and running up front. That kind of expect that same kind of deal. They always find their way, no matter what the package is. They find their way to the front. That trio of Jeff Green, Tyler Fode, Dale Earnhardt Jr., we saw how deadly they were at Talladega last season. It's hard to look past them, especially once we get past the halfway point. If those three are together on track, look out for that group. But, look for teams as well. So Pro Edge Racing comes to mind. Big team of cars there. They have a lot of affiliates as well that they work with, and they're very friendly throughout the field. So they find a lot of other cars that are willing to draft with them and work with them. They'll find their way up front. Those Toyotas, look out for them. Same thing with White Lightning Racing. They're running those Ford Mustangs. Always strong. Two former Daytona 500 winners in that stable, in Andrew Rucker and Chad Frankenfield, but they also race very aggressively. So that's all going to be part of the way this race shapes out. Different strategies of how you tackle the event. We're all going to find out here in just a few moments' time.
So
race session.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, the race session has just been advanced, so cars are going to start gridding up here fairly soon. And with that, as we just tick over to 8 p.m., we're going to see if we can grab our singer of the national anthem here, as he is waiting for us in the waiting room. And with that, just give us a quick second here, but we should have Dustin Dewar with us. Dustin, you got a copy?
Hello, y'all.
All right, well, Dusty taking part in the 500 tonight. Surely have to be looking forward to racing, but before you get into your car, I believe you owe us the national anthem.
All right, let's do it. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Dustin Dewar, ladies and gentlemen, there. Thank you so much for that edition of the national anthem. That means we are so close to going racing. We're taking a look at the flyover there. That is just too cool. Does that not just make you excited for tonight's race, Dusty? I hope. Oh, as he leaves there, I was just about to give him. I hope he has a good race. Just hopefully, congratulations there and good luck. But looking ahead here now as we get these cars gridded here, Rashov, I just can't believe it. Another new season is upon us.
Absolutely, another new season is upon us, and well, as these drivers all get ready, Jeff Green showing the start of the field here. It's time to turn to our friends at the Homeplace Beer Company for those famous words.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is John from Homeplace Brewing Company. Just wanted to reach out and say thank you guys so much for your partnership over the past few years and all the support. We're really excited about the season you guys are about to have. And just one last thing.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
And there they go. So we are underway. The drivers have started their engines on a new season. 2022 is about to get underway, Alex. And there you go. You were just talking about it. I'm so excited for this season as they start to roll off. Let's introduce you guys to our starting grid.
Yes, our front row here tonight going to be set by another known face in the NASCAR world. That'll be 2000 Xfinity Series champion Jeff Green, able to get that done last week there in his duel. So he will be joined by no other than Wyatt Canadle in the second position as we take a look at row 2.
Yeah, row 2, your winners from the duels, Dylan Jones and Ethan Burrell looking to move forward.
Chad Frankenfield and Chad Third with a couple of Chads there. Row 3 there, Chad Frankenfield, a previous winner of the Daytona 500 here.
Yeah, Craig Arvanite's one of those open drivers advancing on, while David Tooker lines up on the outside of row number 4.
Finishing off the row, the top 10 spots, Michael Goodman in the 44 and Caleb Tops in that 04 looked pretty strong in his duel.
Absolutely, and Nick Massey, one of those final 4 drivers returning to the inside of row 6, and a former race winner on the outside, Matthew Weeks.
Gerald Campbell, a past champion in this series here. He's going to be joined by a rookie in this driver. It'll be Justin Fortiner.
Yeah, on the inside of row 8, Tom Bourne, and on the outside, that's your defending race champion, Johnny Thomas.
Row 9 is going to have Jordan Owens there and Joshua Clark still in search of that first win for the Elite Racing Network.
Absolutely, and in row 10, finishing out that top 20, that's Scott Crump, now donning a Ford Mustang, and your defending series champion, Tate Lytle.
Behind them is going to be Jacob Adams running a familiar paint scheme there of the champ, and then Mark Rebellis in that 99 car.
Yeah, Jesse Razamis, the fastest of the open drivers, and Brody Moore, both making up that row 12, both open drivers working their way in.
Got a fast Chevrolet Camaro there, the last Super Speedway winner, Tyler Fody in that 40 car, then who just sang the national anthem, Dustin Dewar. We hope he does well in that 32.
Yeah, Cody Harrington then, the number 66, another newer driver to the Cup Series. Bronson Stafford, again, looking strong. Row 14.
Alec Belvans, in that 5 car, and then Josh Robin in that 8 there. Very fast Ford Mustang.
Yeah, row 16 then, Hunter Smith, and returning to the Cup Series, Richard Hines in that 87 Ford Mustang.
Row 17 there, going to be Michael Hossack in that 24 Toyota Camry there. He'll be joined in that Ford Mustang by the 38 car, that's Shane Thurin.
And row 18, Brent Jones in that 89 car looking to improve on last season, and Josh Adams always look out for that 95 car when it comes to Daytona.
Row 19, Scott Haney in that familiar number 3, and then Andrew Rucker, also a defending Daytona 500 champion, has some work to do.
Yeah, now top 40s finishing up here. Dallas Myhan, Vincent Isabella rounding it up. They've got some work to do moving forward.
Jared Rexing and Harrison Talon going to be in row 21. These are some guys that could play heavy in this one.
Absolutely, and those are familiar schemes there. Rusty Capel in that number 9 Napa Autoports car, and Dale Earnhardt Jr., you saw it right there, the 88 car lining up in 44th position. How exciting is that going to be to watch him drive through the field? The lights are out on the pace car as they continue to roll here, and we expect it to dive off and for Jeff Green to lead this field to the green. There it goes.
44 cars, all with one goal to win. Barry has the green flag in hand. A brand new exciting season is underway for the Elite Racing Network. Green flag is back out. We're racing lap 1, the Homeplace Daytona 500.
Yeah, looks like they might actually have... Let's take a look and see what happened here, as looks like the pace car, while it sits, cars are not up to speed here. We haven't gotten any memo on that from race control as to what happened. Could have been an aborted start, though, as they continue to lap around.
And while that might be the case, yeah, you're right, there's still a number of cars on pit road there, so they continue to pace themselves. So yeah, I would imagine that might be an aborted start there. Looks like Jeff Green And the 84, yep, that's still why it's still on the outside there. Just want to make sure that we didn't lose anybody there.
Yep,
Up
and we've
front,
just
that would be-
received confirmation that one more lap is going to be run here. Dale Earnhardt Jr. actually missed the start there, so they're going to wait for that 88 car to show up at the back of the pack, and I believe we just saw him roll up. So now we'll get underway. So we'll lose one of those laps of racing there to the aborted start, but no worries at all because we'll still have plenty of action to bring you guys here as they're now once again going to try and get this race underway.
He's a two-time Daytona 500 winner, so, we'll give him a pass, okay? That's all we can do. It's Dale Earnhardt Jr., But
Absolutely.
Yes, we're going to self-pace right here and burn one of those laps there. They still have 199 to be perfect there, and hopefully they'll be better and at speed than what we see right now. But, yeah, Jeff Green going to make sure he's within that restart zone, and this time the green flag will fly in the beginning of our 6th season for the Elite Racing Network is underway. Green flag is out. Jeff Green leads them into turn number 1.
And this time definitely up to speed. You can tell by these guys. And here they come flying into turn number 1, 2 by 2 by 2 all the way through. And here they come. On the bottom, it's actually Wyatt Knadel who grabs that position from Jeff Green as Green actually goes up top to join Ethan Burrell. So it's Knadel leading Jones. Dylan Jones actually looks like he's about to take over the lead here on the top side as he hops in front of Jeff Green.
Yeah, once again, that outside line seems to be the revolving door there as people get up to speed trying to find their drafting partner there. You see Dylan Jones in the inside there as Jeff Green, he has lost 4 spots, but by the time they exited turn 4, he was once again back at the point, and he will lead officially under Green.
Oh, and he's already going! Already around!
The field by Dylan Jones. Does he go around? Yes! More competitors heading to turn number 1 are involved. The 43 was an issue as well. Jeff Green, the pole setter, turned out of the pack in front of the field. We are immediately under caution once more. My goodness. Looks like he may have been able to get away from that, but he just wasn't clear. He comes down on Dylan Jones. And this is the fear there, Rashad, of what we did not want to have happen to start this Daytona 500, a wreck at the front of the field.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking just before this about last year's real Daytona 500 and how early a caution came out. You never want to see those happening early on in the race. And here you go, lap number 2 of this event. Let's take a look once again. It looks like, yeah, Jeff Green just not clear, tries to go in front of that 22 car, and just no room there for that to happen. And, yeah, I mean, that's so unfortunate there. Both of those guys, obviously strong cars, qualified well. Not the end of the day for either of them. Jeff Green, lucky to avoid any further contact from drivers behind, trying to avoid. So good job by all those other drivers. So, yeah, some minor damage to that 38 car. Should still be able to run, though. So certainly don't count these guys out, but not really what you want to see at the start of this race.
There were some other competitors that definitely got run into. I saw the 02, the 8 as well. Josh Robin had some damage there as everybody in the aftermath had to figure out exactly where to go to avoid this. And I mean, this is an accident that happens right at the front of the field.
Yeah, Josh Adams just rolls to a stop there just to avoid the incident. So happens all in front of us there, but here we go. Jeff Green, live pictures coming down pit road, and that hands the lead over. I mentioned those Pro Edge Toyotas, didn't I? Ethan Burrell, David Tooker now 1-2 in the field, and just how quickly things can move around. You see Wyatt Knadel running in 3rd position. Michael Goodman, how about that? Up 5 spots from his starting position after all that chaos into P4. Caleb Thompson as well, up a number of positions. Quite a bit of movement, actually, throughout the field because of that incident.
Yeah, and I just want to go right back to that because I did not see really the 22 of Dylan James do anything wrong there. It was such an abrupt move made by the 38 to kind of cover that spot. He just needed a couple, an extra foot, just was not clear. I do not fault the 22 car, who probably has some damage as well. So we go back to that Whiskey Cast replay and take a look. It happened so fast here at Daytona.
It really did. And yeah, let's see if we can grab an onboard of what happened from Dylan Jones's point of view, because I think that can be fairly telling. Because it did look as though he was on the bottom of the racetrack when the incident occurred. So we'll take a look, watch the steering input of Dylan Jones. as he goes side by side with Jeff Green coming out of the tri-oval. But let's see if we can.
I was just mentioning about how many spots that Jeff Green had cycled through that first lap as we ride on board with Dylan Jones here. But yeah, he has absolutely no clue of what's about to happen, transpire here through the tri-oval.
Yeah, he's on the bottom. There's not much there. Yeah, I think there could have also been an effect almost. It looked to me as if Jeff Green very suddenly slowed down as well. I think you could have seen some of that side draft effect actually come into play, and I think for Jeff Green, he might have been called clear, but as he came down, there was just a wash of air, I think, coming over that rear spoiler on that 38 car, and ultimately, I think that slowed him down enough to cause that incident. So that's what it looked like from that quick picture there. It could have been just a situation as well. Jeff Green wasn't clear. I think ultimately that's what it was. You have to anticipate those runs.
Thankfully, though, nobody with really race-ending damage on lap 2 of the event. I believe we still have all competitors still on the lead lap.
Yep, we've got a couple of guys in the back just exiting pit road right now. Let's take a look. Tom Bourne actually showing on pit road right now in that 16. He actually got hit pretty bad in that incident. We seem to miss that for the 16 car. So you can see the damage there. And Jared Rexing, no damage on that 10 car, at least on the right side, but stationary on pit road and has been, I think, effectively since the start of this race.
Interesting. We'll keep an eye on that as the lights are off on the pace car here. You mentioned those Pro Edge Racing Toyota Camrys. They're already up to first and second. I believe this is a team to beat and perhaps can beat what we know is coming from deep in this field here as far as Tyler Fode, maybe Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Jeff Green, who was able to walk away unscathed as far as his chances of still being involved in the finish to this here. He got away with one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say just the way that shook up this field is kind of crazy. Just looking through, we have guys who are plus 20, plus 23 from their starting spot. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is one of those drivers, plus 23 from his starting spot. Yeah, I mean, so much shuffling in this pack already. I don't think there's a single driver who's actually in the same position that they started this race in. Except for Chad Frankenfield. He's in 5th still. Oh, no, he's just dropped back. But yeah, Chad Frankenfield, I think the only driver who's still in the same position he started.
Same position, yeah. That's not going to stay that way, though, forever. I mean, they were able, in that one lap of green flag racing that we've seen, everybody changed. So, looks like I would like to see what's going to transpire between teammates here. We often talk about manufacturer loyalty as it comes in the super speedway tracks. If you see that pace car take the hard left turn onto pit road, ducking for cover, that means the racetrack back under green flag conditions. Ethan Burrell leads them back through the restart zone. We are back under green here, working lap 7 of 200.
Absolutely. So Ethan Burrell, David Tooker, teammates there. Let's see if there's any kind of work that they have together that that gets one of those cars in front of the other. As it stands right now, 19 car 37 running side by side. In fact, that bottom lane pushing ahead quite a bit. Though let's see how they look coming off of turn number 2. This is where you expect to see that outside lane with a little bit of a run. I think we're seeing that right here. Good push on David Tooker from Michael Goodman, and both of them are now clear of that 37 of Ethan Burrell, and they're both going to go to the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, Ethan just did not have the momentum he needed to try and contend when 2 cars hooked up. That kind of reminds me of that tandem racing that we saw in 2011 here. 2 cars together able to supersede the rest of the field, and that's exactly what the 19 was able to do. So David Tooker going to be credited with leading a lap. Michael Goodman gets right behind him, and now that outside line trying to once again form up, and that will be led by Tyler Fode in that 40 car, the last super speedway winner in this series.
Absolutely, yeah. Look at the way Tyler Fode has moved up through the pack. I said look out for those guys, you know, that 40 car, the 88, of course the 38 involved in that wreck, but not out of it quite yet. But the 40 car, Tyler Fode, so methodical in some of the ways that he's able to work his way up the order. We've seen this time and time again, actually, from this 40 car, where maybe qualifying hasn't been exceptional, but he's great in the race, and he's great at preserving his car to the end, whether that's tires conservation or in a super speedway race, just pure car conservation, avoiding the wrecks. And right now doing a good job. He thinks that I think the best place to be here today is up front, and that's what he's doing right behind Nick Massey on that outside lane.
You know, I always wonder, Rashad, when we have an early wreck like that, does that kind of scare the field? Does it kind of make everybody kind of settle down for it? Or do you just put that out of your mind and go get them while you still can, or early?
Yeah, it's got to settle some guys, I think, and just you definitely, I think, are maybe nervous about, okay, what happened there. But in some cases, it settles you. It says, okay, we got that first one out of the way. I wasn't involved in it. I wasn't the first car out. Let's go racing. And there's maybe a little bit of that, but I mean, it's so early in the race. I mean, we shouldn't have even had that situation arise. So it's, you know, I think drivers take it differently. You know, I've always personally taken a more cautious approach to super speedway racing. I know that's definitely not always the answer. We see a lot of guys who will dominate nowadays, especially in the elite racing leagues, who run up front and just stay up front all day long. So very different, you know, kind of ideas to this type of racing, and very different reactions, I'm sure, to the way that first lap played out.
While that was happening there, Nick Massey in that 48 car took Tyler Fode to the promised land right there, able to lead as we see David Tooker poke out a line, and that's last year's defending race winner, Johnny Thomas, right behind him, trying to go for 2 in a row. That has not been done since Elite has run a full Daytona 500. This is the 6th edition of this race for this series.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, the different types of drivers who've had success at this track, you know, and seeing how they're running this season. I mean, we have, if not all of them, I believe actually all 5 previous starters, or all 5 previous winners have started this event here. So all 5 of them are eligible, or are able to grab that second race win here tonight. So yeah, we could be seeing some history in that sense within the elite racing leagues, and of course, quite a few more drivers here who haven't won a Daytona 500 who would certainly love to.
Side by side as they enter turn number 3, 4, 5, 6 rows deep as David Tooker goes to the outside of Nick Massey here, trying to pull along that outside lane once again. Ethan Burrell, who had control of this race here from our first and only restart, has dropped back to the backside of the top 10 right now. Not really in harm's way, but has definitely fallen back in that inside line as we see David Tooker in that outside line once again. Switch lanes, he'll protect the bottom. He leaves the outside occupied now by the 91 of Johnny Thomas, and just behind him is going to be that 87 car there, working pretty well. He started deep in this field. He is up 28 positions since the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, Richard Hines, what an incredible job there on that car, and second in line up top. Yeah, just huge movement from drivers in the field, and another driver who is up 28 positions, and I'm sure viewers at home are dying to know, how is Dale Earnhardt Jr. doing? Well, there he is, running right now in P16, just at the tail end of this lead pack, exactly where I think he probably wants to be in the early stages of this race. He's not a regular here with the elite racing leagues, wants to figure out kind of what's the package like, the way it's racing here on iRacing. How are these guys racing each other in front of me? Obviously, I think most of these drivers, I do know, you know, I've been in the driver chats, nobody wants to be the guy who wrecks Dale Earnhardt Jr. So they're going to give him probably a little bit more room. He has some creativity and some freedom then to race these guys how he wants. But now you see Dale Jr. picking that top lane, feeling that that's the way to go. If I'm anybody behind, I'm following that 88 car wherever it goes on the racetrack.
Yeah, that's exactly what Scott Haney in that 3 car there, a familiar number for the Earnhardt family right behind him, has been able to do so just yet. We see these top 12 cars, dozen or so, about side by side, and then a little bit of single file just behind them, and allowed the mid-pack to kind of spring out there. But as we talk about that, the outside lane, once again, is really proving to show just how strong it is, and the 87, Richard Hines up 31 spots to take the lead tonight.
Yeah, what an incredible job there. Richard Hines looking fantastic in his return. It's been a little while since we've seen that 87 car driven by Hines, a former Truck Series driver back in, I believe it was the 90s. And so again, very familiar with this style of racing, very familiar with the guys that he's racing around here. He's been a part of the elite racing leagues for a while, just wasn't around last season. So to see him back here and performing well is a great sight for sure.
David Tooker, though, able to come up there, try to cover that spot. He got in front of the 87 car there, but he kind of drove away from his drafting help, and now those guys in the outside line, nose to tail, that's going to stall out any progress made by David Tooker. He's going to be falling back. And now the 87 car, he'll switch lanes and allow that open lane now formed by the 25 of Jacob Adams.
Yeah, Jacob Adams now to the lead of the race, and with the help of Dustin Dewar. How about that? So Dewar now moving forward, and he qualified well, moving up through the pack. But to be here pushing Jacob Adams to the lead here. Dewar's been a pretty strong pusher so far in this race. We've seen a couple of occasions where he's helped a driver up towards the front of the pack. Likely that we'll see in a few laps what that 32 car is like leading a pack as well. Dustin Dewar always performs his best, I think, on these super speedways. Just kind of has that little extra edge that you need to perform well at these tracks, and you're seeing that right here. He's just able to find that extra pace to run up front with these guys.
Yeah, so these next-gen cars, I mean, this package here, totally night and day from what we saw when we ran this Daytona 500, at least the 5th edition, mid-last season here. It just, we did not see these type of runs. We did not see this type of racing. You really had to methodically work your way up through the field. You had to have a good car to do so here, but the difference between that race that we saw in this race here is that it seems like you're able to put your car and able to work both lanes with how you want it, and the assistance that we're seeing in both lanes, that just was non-existent last season. This next-gen car really proving itself to be racing on iRacing.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is the kind of plate racing that we like to see. Right, 2x2 all the way around the racetrack, kind of trading blows in terms of which lane has the better pace, and you have to be, as a driver, methodical, and you have to be thoughtful about the moves that you're making. You can't just be aggressive. There's no, late braking into a corner. There's no pushing that car harder into a corner, because you're all flat out around this entire racetrack. So it's being thoughtful, understanding the runs that you're getting, the way the draft is working and the cars around you are driving, and then making the decisions on what opportunities come to you. There's so much more thought that goes into this super speedway racing than it is just kind of that brute, how late can I brake? How well can I take this corner? How much speed can I carry here? It's all about kind of thinking your way through this race, especially these early stages.
Brody Moore in that 13 car, he's also had a great run so far early in this one. He's up 22 spots, trying to take the lead here for the first time today. Has a big shove. You see the 37 car actually almost get him a little bit out of order there on that end of the back stretch there. Here comes David Tooker once again fighting back. Tooker's been the car that we've seen being able to pull out at ease, but I don't know if you hear that theme music from Jaws there playing in your ear there, Rashad, but I can tell you that means that 88 car is coming.
That 88 car is coming, and he's got the 40 car right behind him. Remember what a dangerous duo those were at Talladega, and you look just 3 cars behind those two, and Jeff Green's not too far back either. He's back in this race as well, back in this lead pack. Again, you put those 3 cars, the 88, the 40, and the 38, all together on the racetrack, and I'm nervous if I'm anybody else in this field. So keep an eye out for those guys. See if Jeff Green's able to find his way to join his kind of de facto teammates there in Tyler Fode and Dale Jr. But Dale Jr. Right now is working his way forward in this pack, and is he just second in that row? I believe he is, just second up top.
He's cracked the top 5, working lap 20 this time by, and it didn't take long for the 2-time Daytona 500 Series champion to find himself near the front of the field, pushing. Right now, Vincent Isabella in that outside lane there as Ethan Burrell able to lead that lap in front of Brody Moore in that 13. But we've seen that outside line, it's kind of been able to showcase a lot of different drivers there before everybody kind of drops to the bottom. Haven't really seen drivers committed to the top lane there. Here comes Vincent Isabella with a big shove from the 88 car.
Yeah, huge run, and this is where the outside lane is just so strong. It's just unreal coming off the corner. They might get 3 cars all cleared of Ethan Burrell, and they do. How about that? So now you have Fode and Dale Earnhardt Jr. now get to make up their mind where do they want to go on the racetrack, and they pick the top. They're ditching that 12 car of Vincent Isabella. They want to go up to the top, make this a 2-car race between those two, and they're already clear of that 12. Crazy the runs that this outside lane gets off the corners. The 84 of Wyatt Canadle goes down, and almost had 3-wide situation there with Brody Moore and Ethan Burrell.
To the bottom of the racetrack there, but what we saw already, some of these drivers' worst fear has come to life, and that is Dale Earnhardt Jr. leading this race in front of Tyler Fode. Those cars hooked up, and now we really are beginning to see drivers commit thoroughly to that top side lane. It was in view with this camera angle there just a lap ago. Now we see 5 cars strung out in that outside lane.
Absolutely, and we take a look at this. That bottom lane's completely fallen off there. So this is now, I think everybody starts to transition to this more single file. I think expect maybe a little bit more relaxed driving here, or not relaxed for the drivers, but from what we're watching at home. So guys are now just going to stay in line. I think they're more likely to do so at least, and just run this stint out here. Wait until the next pit stop, kind of figure things out, figure out where your teammates are, and kind of work out your strategy from there. That's the excitement of the two-wide racing. It's kind of gone right now. This is the typical progression we expect, and look at that. Basically nobody on that bottom lane anymore. You see, who is that? That's is that Chad Frankenfield? No, it's Richard Hines and Chad Frankenfield on the bottom lane, trying to still make it work, trying to maybe stay ahead of this next group of cars. But you can definitely tell that outside just looks a little bit more powerful right now with the numbers that it has.
Yeah, you don't want to be the last person involved or invited to the party there once everybody decides to join the top side, and that was unfortunately the process for Ethan Burrell. He had made that big move to the inside. Look where he is at right now, all the way, just barely hanging on, I believe, inside the top 10. He is running along the position. And Vincent Isabella, who was pushed by Dale Earnhardt Jr., now finds himself all alone on the bottom.
Yeah, Vincent Isabella went down to the bottom with some of the Pro Edge cars and a couple of other guys, but those guys quickly moved back up, just realizing that there just wasn't any pace, I think, on the bottom right now. They are trying to put together a bit of a run here. If we scroll back here, Vincent Isabella, he's got Scott Haney behind him. We see a couple of cars actually in front, so the 84 of Canadal, Ethan Burrell. Jeff Green decides to now join those guys on the bottom. I think Green's trying to find his two teammates who've been leading the race here these past couple of laps, and this bottom, they're trying to put something together. I'm curious to see, though, 4 cars together right now. They're not as organized as the top. Will they be able to make any kind of ground on those top 2 drivers?
Shorter distance around there, and I believe we just saw somebody else poke out a line there. Yes, that's Michael Goodman in that 44 car. Dustin Dewar. Actually, no, Dustin switches lanes. He'll leave Michael Goodman, who tries desperately to fill that hole. He does. And once he saw his drafting partner kind of go against him, as we see Johnny Thomas just pull out there below the yellow line there, kind of mid-pack. Don't know if there was a problem right there. But while we were working lap 25, about 1/8 of the distance here tonight, want to remind you guys at home what the stage lengths are here for tonight. We will not see a yellow flag for the stage caution, but we will have, first stage will be 65 laps, the second stage 65 laps, and then the third and final stage will be lap 70. So expect the action to kick up around lap 65, lap 130, and then of course lap 200 to award a bonus point for these drivers here. The fuel window going to be around the 34 to 38 lap range. We expect that to play a factor here momentarily. Here we expect green flag pit stops since this thing goes green like it has. Maybe around lap 40 or so. They did have one caution flag if you were just now joining us here early. Lap number 2 when Jeff Green decided to clear himself on the bumper. Dylan James, narrator, it did not go well. Thankfully, though, he's able to fix the damage. You see him running along in the third position in that bottom lane, trying desperately to work up in front with his teammates, the 40 and Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 88 car, who are leading this field. We are side by side once again, working lap 26.
Yeah, I was going to say, this inside line has really started to organize, and they're coming back at it, and this could all be just organizing, getting ready for what could be a shootout here for this stage win. So like you said, no stage cautions, but 10 points and a chase point on the line for whoever wins that stage. And for someone like Dale Jr., who's only in it for a couple of races this season, and yes, I said a couple, he will be back. You're not as concerned about that. Or for some of the open drivers like Jesse Rasmus here, who's expected to be a Daytona-only entry, you're not too concerned. But for someone like Tyler Fode, for someone like Michael Goodman, guys who are in it for the whole season, who are racing for a chance to race in the chase, to race for a championship, these points are so valuable, and you want to put everything you've got, when it comes to these stage breaks. Or, well, not breaks, but stage ends. It's never too early to start
thinking about a championship run, like you mentioned there, Rashad. Here we have an 18-race season here. 11 of those races here allowing you a chance. If you win, you're in for the championship hunt. And then we have our playoff race, which has 7 of those races, 2 rounds before a winner takes all with the final 4 on that final race. So it's never too early to try and pile them up. Right now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. would have that if he were going to be running full-time. Don't expect him to be full-time. I know he has a very busy schedule. For everybody else that's in this field, those stage points are very much on the line.
Absolutely they are. And yeah, I mean, just looking ahead, we've got a heck of a schedule ahead of us. I think this is one of the best looking calendars we've had in a number of seasons, and it starts off with 3 big ones in my eyes. You've got Daytona tonight, you've got Pocono next week, and then you've got Michigan. So 3 huge racetracks, places where we expect to see these guys getting up to huge amounts of speed to kick off this 2022 A season. Yeah, just really showcasing, I think, the speed of these cars and showcasing what they can do. What a great way to start. And then we hit the road course at Watkins Glen before we start going to some shorter tracks.
I cut off my mic there, so I'll be up just momentarily real quick. I'll be right back.
No worries there. So as Alex just takes a quick step away, then Dale Earnhardt Jr. continues to lead, and we don't expect Jr. to have too many fuel issues. Obviously, he's been leading for a number of laps here, but remember, he started so far back in the pack that while he was moving forward, he was probably still saving some fuel compared to guys who've been up front all race long. But unfortunately for guys who are supporting that inside lane, they just haven't been able to make it work just quite yet. They're able to put things together in the corners as they have that shorter route around the racetrack, but down that back straightaway, that top line just seems to be very powerful, though the numbers are now on the side of this bottom lane. So let's see how things progress here. Remember, that stage break coming on lap 35, so that's quickly coming at us, and you're going to expect guys to take some chances, move things around, and try to see if they can kind of move forward, grab some of those points, grab some of the, towards the championship. So keep an eye out. Let's see what this bottom lane can do. They are starting to crawl forward just a little bit here.
Yeah, that's the best that we've seen there. It'll be actually lap 65 there, Rashad, not 35.
65, excuse me. Yeah, so, that makes a lot more sense.
I apologize for that. I hit a button on my keyboard. I didn't even know I could mute you with my button on the keyboard. But my apologies there. But yeah, that's the best that we've seen, that inside row, since Dale Jr.'s been able to take the lead, and he's had the lead here for a good 10 laps. You see Jacob Adams try to move that whole lane there. Let's talk about that side draft here, what they're trying to do once you get to the quarter panel or the right side of these race cars, or left side for these guys on the bottom, about trying to slow them down. You saw the 25 car do very much what he could to try and get to the side. I believe that was Vincent Isabella in that 12. Problem for him, though, is that guys are starting to bail out. You see Jeff Green actually go out to the outside there. And anytime a car bails out in line, that's going to kind of bring the momentum, that inside line there back. Now they're side by side for 12th, but Nick Massey is the next car that would be aggressively side draft by that 25 car there, as the front 6 on the top side doing what they can. Vincent Isabella taking a look at it, almost 3 wide briefly out of turn 2.
Absolutely, and yeah, now you're seeing just kind of a staggered group here, so a little bit of overlap, but once again, this bottom lane just kind of falling a little bit behind here. So now your leader, Nick Massey, on the bottom lane with the help of Jacob Adams. Those two are friends and have worked together in the past. Let's see what they can do lined up. You also have teammates Goodman and Dewar as well on the bottom lane. So guys working together, just trying to create some momentum on the bottom here. And we see this, it's kind of been a bit of an ebb and flow where this bottom lane starts to build momentum, starts to move forward, and then people start bailing out on it, and it kind of starts to fall apart again. So guys need to stick a little bit closer together. That gap where Wyatt Knadel is, that needs to be closed up. If if you're looking at, who is that? Hunter Smith there needs to close that gap up just a little bit. These guys need to be slightly more tightly packed, I think, to start really benefiting from all of this drafting. But how about this middle lane for Vincent Isabella and Jeff Green? Let's see how that works. Vincent goes to the bottom, Jeff goes to the top, and causes Gerald Campbell to check up.
Yeah, that 31 car all but hit the 38 car there. Just behind him, Ethan Burrell in that 37 dual 2 winner. As we saw that middle lane briefly make an appearance there on the backstretch. Here comes Nick Massey, though, trying his best, getting a shove from Jacob Adams in that 25 car. They have made their way up to second. This is the best we've seen, that inside line. And now, who's going to be the first driver to take away the lead from Dale Earnhardt Jr.? It could be that 48 car and the 25.
Funny how these numbers seem to work out and emulate history, isn't it? Nick Massey looking to try and see if he can get past Dale Jr. Nick Massey, I was going to say the 48, trying to get past the 88 at Daytona. What could possibly go wrong there?
I'm pretty impressed by the guy who's kind of hung on our top Toyota Camry there. That's the 70 car there. He's done a great job, and I'd already mentioned there he's moved up 20 positions there, but Rasmus doing a great job. Was involved in a wreck late in that duel last week. Thought he might have had a shot think he has that remembered and think that was one that perhaps got away with him. But he's in pretty good company in that outside line as we see another charge made by the 48 car. The number that we've seen go to victory lane in the real world there with with Jimmy Johnson there 2 times as well.
Yeah, they're just not. The problem with the bottom lane right now is you can see how great they look through the corners because they have that shorter path around. But on the straightaways, it's really hard to compete with that outside lane, that tandem of Tyler Fode and Dale Jr. They really do just kind of extend that lead a huge amount, and I think credit as well to Jesse Rasmus, who's doing a fantastic job kind of acting as that third car to help push those guys along. I don't really think I've seen Rasmus step away from the bumper of that 40 car at all since those 3 took over the top 3 spots in this race, and they're the 3 drivers I think who are really defining the success of this top lane. You can see just how hard they're trying on the bottom, but the problem is you have guys bailing out and guys switching around all the time. Credit to Jacob Adams and Nick Massey who've been sticking with it here. The problem is it's going to be really tough to compete with 3 drivers who all seem to be in sync on the top lane. As look at that, they're even separating themselves from Bronson Stafford in that 61.
Well, right now the party is on the top side here, but in a couple of laps, the party's going to be on the bottom side. These guys are going to have to make a green flag pit stop here pretty quickly. We expect around the lap 40 to 44 party or around that window there. And that's going to mean these guys are going to have to get not only single file to make sure that they get on the pit road, but they're going to have to suddenly merge down to the bottom of the racetrack there. And for those that perhaps don't want to, wow, Nick Massey with a slice and dice move to the outside lane to try and get in front. He barely cleared himself there in front of the 13er Brody Moore, trying to solidify his position perhaps as we see guys beginning to think about pit strategy here. That top lane will know when they need to come because they're going to have to go down to the bottom.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's interesting there, that move from Nick Massey. Those, I mean, I would assume, considering they're both Fords and those are basically identical liveries, that there's some teamwork there between Bronson Stafford and Nick Massey. I think that's a fair assumption on my part. And that could be really important. That could be what Nick Massey was looking for. Jacob Adams, I think those two are working well together, but there could be something else that Stafford and Massey want to work on, want to try here. And now that they're together on the racetrack, never count out 2 teammates when they're together on the racetrack. We've seen that time and time again. Look at that, though. Jacob Adams goes below the yellow line, going to check up, I think, or cause that bottom lane to check up. That's going to hurt them a lot. I don't know if that was Adams maybe calling his shot, saying he's coming down pit road. We would expect to see drivers coming down pit road here relatively soon. Let's see if that is the move from the 25. No, he stays on the racetrack.
Whatever it was, it did not help him and his aide to try and get to the more drivers at the bottom of the racetrack there. He's slowly but surely falling back as more competitors once again using the top side lane to their advantage, all led by Dale Earnhardt Jr. Tyler Fode in that 40 car. He is also someone that we want to keep an eye on because he did win this race, as we see more drivers, more commotion shuffling in the bottom of the pack. I believe drivers are going to be getting to signal their intent to get to the bottom here very, very soon.
Absolutely. Interesting to note here, as we have, excuse that, never mind. Yeah, no. So yeah, we'll take a kind of look here. Pretty much the entire field's been able to stick together. There's very few cars, I think, kind of out of the way. As we should actually switch that around. There we go. We get car numbers. Gives us a little bit of a better idea. You do have a small pack here further behind, and just the lone 45 car, unfortunately, seems to have been separated from either pack. But the top 35 cars, all within that lead pack, really not a ton of separation, which, of course, has made for exciting racing, but it's been very interesting to how this race has played out. And for the drivers, I mean, if you're 35th position right here, realistically, you're not far off from the lead, no matter what your position indicator says. That's very close together on the racetrack after 40 laps of racing.
Yeah, very, very so. But the thing about having 35 of your closest competitors around you there is that you have 35 of your closest competitors around you. Don't know if that's necessarily something you want, especially when they're slicing and dicing here. We've seen people drop to the back of the pack there to avoid the big one. Haven't seen it here tonight. Hopefully doesn't play itself out. If we see another attack made by the 25, Jacob Adams, he's not going to give up. Give him an attaboy here early in this race because he's been focused on getting that bottom lane to contend with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his brothers on the outside.
And this, if you ever want to know what it's like to push Dale Earnhardt Jr. around Daytona, this is what it looks like. Let's ride on board here for a lap with Tyler Fode. I mean, first of all, that glare there, that's a little bit annoying, I'm sure, coming out of turn number 4, or I guess out of 3 and into 4, but that's quickly going to go away as the sun continues to set here. But you can just see here, Tyler Fode just not leaving the bumper there of that 88 car anywhere around this racetrack. Through the tri-oval and into turn number 1, there you'll see a little bit of separation. You don't really want to be drafting too much through the corners, but you'll see how quickly he's able to close up, has to feather the throttle just a little bit, maintain those RPMs, then get ready to floor it again and push that 88 car back down this back straightaway. Really impressive here what these guys have been able to put together so far in this race. Expect that to stay together. And again, shout out to Jesse Rasmus, who I think is helping that 40 stay in touch with the 88, helping kind of that top 3 just stay all together and continue to pace at the level that they're pacing. But hey, there is Josh Adams, or excuse me, Jacob Adams.
There, we're able to see we're able to notice that he's also able to save gas as well. So that's something that when you're in the draft here at Daytona and Talladega, something that really works to your advantage is being able to save fuel. And so with those guys being able to save fuel behind Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's using the most fuel. So I think we're going to see, despite what might be saved by the 40 car in that 70, when Dale Earnhardt Jr. needs to come in, we're going to see most of this lane come in. And in fact, I think they're switching lanes now. We see the 61 go to the bottom of the racetrack and the 48 here, as well as the 88 and the 40. They left the 70 on the high side. That tells me they're coming in early.
Yeah, wow, Rasmus. Poor Rasmus is going to start falling there. Let's see the call here. Expect to see them all slowing down for pit road. Not quite yet. Might have just been a fake there.
Yeah. Don't know if it was it was the move needed to get to the bottom of the racetrack there. You're right there. As much as that 70 car had played faithful to the back bumper of the 70 and the 88 and the 40, when it was go time, he was not a part of that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, unfortunately for Jesse Rasmus, currently sits in the 8th position, still on that outside lane, trying to find a way past. He does have Vincent Isabella to help pulling him along, but now everybody on this bottom lane. Let's see if that translates into them coming down pit road. It's the right lap, and everything seems to be lining up for it. We just have to wait and see if these guys actually decide to make that call, and I'm sure a lot of that's going to be internal to what these guys are looking at. And here we go. A couple of them make that call. Jacob Adams is going to be the first one to hit pit road.
Ooh, Dustin Dewar very hot there. Jeff Green as well going to be on pit road. These are the first green flag pit stops of the day. Well, keep in mind you can also only go through 3 pit boxes as well. Just like what we see in real life NASCAR. You're only allowed 3 pit stalls in and on exit. You need to be in that left lane as well, as we see the rest of the field go by on the backstretch. We expect even a bigger pack this time by, and I'm telling you, this is the most, this and the end of the race, getting from 200 miles an hour down to 55, that is a grueling task.
It absolutely is. You've got to be hard on the brakes, but not lock it up and cause an incident. And here we go. Fode dives to the bottom, but Dale Jr. stays up top. Interesting call there. The 88, despite leading all those laps, stays out. That's strange, though, because you'd expect those two to be communicating with each other the way they've raced in the past, the way they're racing today. Fode does make it to his stall, but Dale Jr. staying out front, leading this pack, continuing to lead this pack. Somehow they're still gassing that 88 car.
Yeah, probably. I don't wonder if he saw something in his rear mirror that he just didn't like. Seeing a big pack there kind of spooked him into staying another lap. Don't want to be run over from behind. We do often see those type of accidents occur. And so we'll see here. He has Vincent Isabella and Rasmus, who's now been able to work on that outside line. Here comes Joshua Clark and Tate Lytle. Haven't talked about a defending series champion at all. But here comes that second pack. Make it third. Everybody hard on the brakes here.
Ooh, oh!
Contact. There goes Rasmus into the inside wall. The accident we talked about getting onto pit road has indeed happened, and the 70 car falling victim to it.
Man, you hate to see that for Jesse Rasmus, who was running so well earlier in the race. And let's just take a quick look at how that played out. But man, oh man, and here they are. This is what it looked like. So it's that, which car is that? Let's see, is that Michael Hossack?
That's just 5 cars kind of trying to funnel down to 3 lanes there. But that's going to really hurt, especially with no yellow flag. That's going to really hurt the 70 car, not only getting back on the track, but also to fix that damage. He impacted that inside wall pretty severely there. You could see the right side rear quarter panel pretty heavily damaged because of that issue.
Yeah, comes out on the racetrack then. Not sure who it was who made contact with him, but hate to see it happen to that 70 car again, who was running so strongly, had that great qualifying run to qualify his way into the show.
Meanwhile, Joshua Clark, Tate Lytle, and Matthew Weeks, Pro Edge Racing teammates here, see Harrison Talon as well. And it was not Michael Hossack that got into him. He's still running along in the 5th position. These guys are running around. You see Vincent Isabella and Dylan James, dual 1 winner, as Tate Lytle's going to pit by himself in a very, very late call made by one of those competitors, basically from the outside. I believe that was actually Tate Lytle himself in front of the 23 Harrison Talon.
Very interesting.
So we're gonna see exactly how this shakes up the field here.
So as there you see
pack
Josh
grouped up together.
Yeah, Josh Adams, I think, did he run out of fuel here? He was running out on the racetrack. Something's going on with that 95 car. Might just be actually coming off of pit road here. Let's see, 40. No, that's slow for that 95 car. Something happened there. Running
yeah,
a little
he got
bit
passed by that lead pack. He'll be inhaled by that other pack.
Yeah. Well, meanwhile, in this lead pack, it is Jacob Adams leading the way. So his brother there leading the way. Dustin Dewar, Andrew Rucker has worked his way into that, and it was Rucker who contacted Jesse Rasmus. It was that 64 car. So yeah, that's unfortunate for Rasmus there, but here we go. Dale Jr. already to the top lane. He's got the support of the 48, the 15 car, and that 64 is getting eaten up on the bottom lane there.
Yeah, you saw Jacob Adams take a look at it. It's not going to be enough if they come across some slower traffic. Dale Earnhardt Jr. switches lanes. He'll go to the bottom of Jacob Adams there, and he'll take the lead away. Wow! That 88 car shot out of a cannon as we see what is now our lead pack after green flag pit stops. About 10 drivers have been able to settle themselves. Actually, these guys are just behind Joshua Clark, who is now getting up to speed. You see him in turn 1.
Yeah, it's actually this first group.
And the 40 and the 37. These guys must have taken a little bit less fuel than the others. Because remember, the 40 car broke apart from Dale Earnhardt Jr. as well as Ethan Burrell. So these guys doing a well of a job to get ahead of that lead pack. The question is, will they be able to maintain that gap? And I don't think they will. 3 cars versus 10. They're going to be short-lived as far as their lead right now.
Yeah, and you want to see what green flag pit stops do to you. I mean, just look at how spread out this field is right now compared to what we saw just before the pit cycle started. I mean, everyone was so bunched together on the racetrack. Now look at this, different breakaways and just different in and out laps, and the way guys were able to drive on those in and out laps has separated this field. So Stafford, Fody, and Burrell all breaking away from this second pack of Dale Jr., Jacob Adams, Nick Massey. And from the cockpit of, from the cockpit of Dale Jr., that's kind of what you're looking at. You see those cars further up the road. You're trying your best to see if you can close that gap to those top 3.
Oh, there's no question. He will be closing the gap here, and you better be on the right train when he does, because Dale Earnhardt Jr. is taking no prisoners. So green flag pit stops there complete. 1/4 race distance complete as well. Working lap 51 of 200. That's going to give us a chance just to catch our breath. Going to leave you with sights and sounds here of this year's Daytona 500. Don't go anywhere. We're going to crank it up for you, but we will be right here in about 2 laps time. Welcome back to the Homeplace Daytona 500 live on the Elite Racing Network. You're taking a look at this second pack. Dale Earnhardt Jr. leading it in front of Jacob Adams there. They are trying to run down three competitors who were able to get on and off pit road fairly well there, so much so that they had about a 5-second gap. You see that gap, though, has now dwindled down. It's led by the 61 car Stafford doing a great job in front of Tyler Fode and Ethan Burrell. That was the dual number 2 winner, doing a great job, but they're just no match, especially with this second pack, about 13 cars led by the Pied Piper. It's about to be one jumbled pack here momentarily, very soon.
Yeah, it really is. These guys closing in fairly quickly on that lead pack, as you mentioned. And here you go. I mean, when you just have 3 cars, hard, I guess, to stay away from a pack with this much power behind it. And the good news for these guys is they've all stayed in line. They're not really fighting with each other to slow themselves down. So yeah, they're going to catch up here probably by the end of the straightaway by the looks of it. And with the run, Dale Jr. could go all the way to the top. He will, and potentially pass all 3 of them before they get to turn number 3.
Yes, and the bad news for the 40 car, who's kind of stuck there in that lane, kind of mid in that pack, is the fact that there's really not going to be much stuff. He's going to try and get in front of his teammate. The 88 car was not clear. That allowed the 61 to change lanes. It broke that momentum just enough for the 61 to change lanes, and that actually hurt the momentum set by 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. The 40 car trying to get greedy there. He knew he needed to get to the top side or risk being left on the bottom with little to no drafting assistance. And that 61 car now in front of that 88 car. That's something we have not said in about 30 laps time. Here comes Jacob Adams diving underneath.
Yeah, now Tyler Fode has to kind of support that 25 car, push him down this back straightaway, and you can see they're actually pretty evenly matched there this time around between Fode and Dale in terms of pushing. But yeah, Bronson Stafford looking good on that top lane, and Jacob Adams doing what he needed to do. He knew you don't want to allow Dale Jr. and Tyler Fode, I think, to come together on the racetrack. So for Adams to come down right in front of that 40 car, prevent the 40 from either moving forward to give Dale a spot or stay holding back to allow Dale to come back down. Yeah, that's a great call there from Jacob Adams, and now he has one of the best pushers in the field right behind him to potentially work this field up. And we know Tyler Fode, I think, wants to be with that 88 car, so he's going to push as hard as he possibly can to stay with that top lane. But already you can see that top is starting to look like the better option already. But this can quickly shift here. As there you go, another great push there from that 40 car.
Yeah, I wish we could go back to a replay there to see why that move by the 61 car makes him look like the smartest man here at Daytona, because when that 40 car disrupted the little bit of momentum there, didn't want to side draft his teammate there, but that's exactly what it did, just stalled out. That allowed the 61 car the time he needed to switch lanes and get in front of that 88 car without fear of being passed, and that was just very heads-up, smart driving by the 61 car. And you don't typically do that in front of a 2-time Daytona 500 champion. That's exactly what was done by that 61 car.
Absolutely. So the 61 goes up and the 25 goes down, and that's how you kind of separate those two drivers. And great job there on that replay. That's how they got it done, and right now that's going to keep them again ahead of those two drivers. Really important, I think, because now you've got a much more even balance, I think, between the rows. And look at this bottom lane. Look at these guys making some momentum. And I think all 3, Adams, Fode, and Burrell all get by Bronson Stafford on the top lane. And how about that? They're going to now take over the top here, though Ethan Burrell left to dry on the bottom there. That's going to be painful for that 37.
Yes, Jacob Adams there talking about never giving up. Finally switching lanes there after the help and the push he needed by Tyler Fode. In that 40 car, they get around Stafford in that 61 and have kicked back Dale Earnhardt Jr. to 4th place as well. But Jacob Adams finally at the point for the first time here today. His hard work over the last 40 laps has paid off with that 25 car up front.
Yeah, it really has. He's been looking great here. He's been able to lead really well. He's been able to push fairly well. Honestly, I don't think we've seen the 25 in too many pushing situations because he's always found a way to put his car at the front of whatever pack he's in. So, yeah, great start here right now for Jacob Adams. Now it's just running, understanding fuel concerns and how to conserve fuel while you're running up front here. But he knows what he's doing. Jacob Adams has looked so strong last season. still looking for that win, trying to break through, but he's been so close on so many occasions. Looks really strong here today. Let's see if he's able to pull out a result in just 140 laps time.
Oh, just as we were talking about that, the 40 car at will just decided he didn't want to follow that 25 car. I'm going to go to the bottom of the racetrack there, and he'll take the lead away from the 25. Help from Dustin Dewar in that 32. And there's Ethan Burrell as well. Woo! Little bit of a moment by the 25. That 61 car got right on the back bumper in the middle of the corner. Bump drafting here. There are places where you want to do so, and there's some places where you don't. And that was almost a moment by the 25.
Yeah, it's interesting because despite the poor qualifying effort from that 40 car and Tyler Fode, I don't think there's a faster car out on the racetrack right now than that 40 as he gets a bit of a rough bump from Ethan Burrell in the 37. But they're going to stay together. They hold on to it, and that could be a dangerous duo right there, Burrell and Fode. Different teams, but both fantastic super speedway racers. Fantastic at kind of, again, being that methodical driver and racing your way to the front. But that 40 car, man, he can pull out whenever he wants. He seems to be able to just make the moves he wants. It's going to be tough to compete with that. But right now, I mean, you're seeing a great group of drivers trying to bring the challenge. And how about that? Josh Clark leading that bottom lane now over Bronson Stafford. You also have Nick Massey down there now. So complete new set of characters on the bottom lane. Meanwhile, on the top, how about Harrison Talon in that 23 DoorDash car? He's moved up to third behind Ethan Burrell and Tyler Fode now.
Yeah, Talon and Dale Earnhardt Jr. have moved up the exact same number of spots, up 39 spots from where they started there. So Talon doing just as well as what we've seen with Jr. here today to improve his running order as we see that outside line beginning to take form there. This is about a 10-car breakaway at the front of the field. 10 cars there inside this lead pack. That second pack led by Andrew Rucker in that 64 car, trying desperately to keep caught back up. Once these guys that are, kind of running side by side up front, this second pack, they're all single file, just trying to march forward. They are about 2 seconds behind that lead pack.
Yeah, they are. They're some ways back there, but it's led by 2 Daytona 500 winners, so expect these guys to push forward and try to close that gap if they can. But yeah, we'll keep an eye out on that gap. Right now it sits at 2.7 seconds. We'll keep you guys updated and let you know if there's much change there, but it's going to be tough. This top pack is really moving right now, despite some of the battling they've been having, but look at that. They're single filed out pretty quickly here. Jacob Adams left in the dust here all the way to the back, and single file here in the top. They're all ready to just kind of roll this stint out here as we're getting close to that stage break here. This could be very interesting to see how things change. Lap 63 of 200, lap 65, at the end of lap 65, I believe, is when we're going to see that stage break occur.
Yes, so we will not see the yellow flag for our first stage break there, but they will have 3 laps to decide who's going to get that playoff point that will be handed out. And you have to wonder there, as much as people are committed to that top lane, what weighs on you more? Do you want that playoff point there more, or do you want to stay in line? Because you can go to the inside, perhaps make a move, but if nobody goes with you, you're going to go to the tail end. And that 64 car we saw wasn't that far back of that lead pack there. It seemed like it.
Yeah, not too far. Let's see if we can grab some kind of idea. The gap actually is expanded, if anything. It's too... Yeah, a little bit more there. You can see just a peek ahead as we're with the 64 car right now, and we go and look from what it looks like. There's that front pack, and you're desperately trying to catch up. But when you're Andrew Rucker, there's not much you can do here. You'll see probably get a little bit of a bump here from that 11 car of Matthew Weeks. No, Weeks actually decides to go up top. Interesting call there from the 11 car because these guys are all out of the points-paying positions. I'd be trying to kind of push forward here, but they felt better. I think Weeks and Balvans felt like they'd be better leading this pack, so they both go past that 64.
And remember there, Rasav, as we get the one to go here for stage 1, keep in mind, as Dylan Jones goes a lap down, that 64 car did have contact with Rasmus there entering pit road, so he may have been up front, but he may have had damage that he elected not to fix that could have been slowing those guys down in that second pack.
Absolutely, yeah, so that's something to consider. And, lap 65 is already here, and we haven't really seen too much movement. Let's see if anything changes here. Some of these guys might just figure, hey, I feel like sitting right now, maybe not here, because looking to the bottom, there's Nick Massey, Bronson Stafford as well.
There
Those
goes
two going together. Meanwhile, up front, Ethan
Burrell
Burrell to the bottom.
Yes, I was expecting Ethan Burrell to go with Harrison Talon there as well. Chad Frankenfield on the bottom lane. In the stage one, first one of the season is going to go to that tie Toyota Camry. Ethan Burrell getting that playoff point there. We still stay under the green flag, but stage one is his.
Yeah, so how about that? I mean, that's prepping you and just kind of understanding how you want to maybe tackle lap 200 coming into turn number 3 and what kind of run you want to get. And how about that? You've got Chad Frankenfield now for the first time, gets his nose ahead of the rest of the pack, doesn't lead for long. Burrell regains that advantage on the top, but Chad Frankenfield, again, another former Daytona 500 champion there, worked his way up to the front. He's been aggressive in the past, but he's been much quieter, I think, this time around, and that, I think, is paying off for that 15 car. Let's see how he continues to race, around this track and throughout the rest of this race. But for Frankenfield, right now looking really strong in that 15 car, and a little bit of a breakaway for him and Stafford. They'll expect the rest of the pack to come back to them fairly quickly.
My apologies there. My mic keeps on cutting out there. Sorry, Rashav. I don't know if there's an issue there. But yeah, as you were saying there just before, I didn't hear you there. Chad doing a great job in that 15 car, has been kind of methodic with his working his way up to the front as well. I'm impressed by that 61 car as well. I don't know if we really necessarily had him on the radar there as he go around the lap car of that 70 of Rasmus, who just has to be wondering what just might have been.
Yeah, real shame for Rasmus. That's again, when you put in that great of a result, you qualify your way in to the 500. I mean, that's such an exciting thing to kind of be a part of. Just a quick update though on Bronson Stafford, telling you about that 61 car. Bronson raced in our Truck Series last season. Believe it was his first season ever with Elite. Obviously, I believe he's raced in other series, familiar with other racing and has been successful, but finished P5 in that series, so just missed out on the Championship 4, but walked away from that season with a win at Daytona last season, actually. I believe it was. No, it was second place at Daytona. His win was at Atlanta, but still, definitely a strong driver. P5 in the Championship there. Steps up to the Cup Series. You see the rookie stripes there, but certainly putting on a show and putting on an impressive debut here in that 61.
Yes, doing so and leading the field currently with Nick Massey just behind him. This side-by-side racing has allowed that second pack, to inch closer ever so much. They were 3 seconds. That lead has now dwindled down to just 2. Haven't seen much noise made out of the 40 and the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. as well. He's been actually kind of ho-humming along there after leading the most laps here today by far, but now that 61 car trying to have a go at it.
Yeah, 61 car, 48. Those guys looking really good. And it's a similar situation, I think, what we were seeing last time around this point in the stint, where you're able to get a little bit of a breakaway in that top lane. They're just a little bit more effective right now. Very similar situation, I think, to what we saw towards the start of the race. Top breakaway of about 2 or 3 cars where they're always ahead of that bottom lane. But bottom lane right now doing a good job at sticking together relatively closely, trying to see if they can make anything work. But here you go. I mean, 2 of them, as I say that, dropping away from the top. Dustin Dewar and Dale Jr. both make that call to move up. Dale Jr. and Fody, maybe see if those guys are trying to get together on the racetrack again. But as things stand right now, separated by a couple of cars out there. Jeff Green, meanwhile, stuck in that second pack. He's hoping for a caution or something to kind of help bring him closer to those teammates.
I don't know if he'll need a caution at all here, because I believe that second pack there, Rashav, is going to be there. I mean, they are there. That's
they are
exactly
absolutely there.
They are going to be there momentarily, and I think that's exactly what the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. perhaps saw, that these guys are beginning to get a run, and now we see Matthew Weeks in that 11 car. That was exactly the shot that was needed for that second pack in order to make a run up there. They just weren't getting it done with that 64, perhaps heavily damaged, and now this big pack of cars has once again joined together after our first green flag pit stop.
And now you see there, I mean, there you see that group just coming out of turn number 4, just how much bigger it is to what it was when we first brought up this track map. More like what we'd expected to. Still a couple of breakaways of a few cars just exiting turn 2 there. They're a little bit further behind, either lap down cars or further down on the lead lap. But now we've got this huge pack of cars sitting all within, I believe, what is this? 1st through 23rd, I believe, are all in this lead pack.
Yeah, it's still at 36 cars on the lead lap here. And we are going on what will be a 70-lap green flag run here in just a few short laps there. Had that early issue on lap number 2 with Jeff Green, the pole setter there, going around off the bumper of Dylan James there. But besides that, I kind of call that the incident that kind of spooked everyone. We have not seen the big one at all, which is nice to see. These guys have been able to make some great choices, have limited their mistakes. We did see one mistake getting on the pit road, but I think everybody very much trying to... I compare this to a race, how you want to break this up here, Rashav. Let's just make it to halfway. I think once we get to halfway, we breathe a sigh of relief. Then we try to decide, okay, who's my competition? Who have I been able to work very well in the first 100 laps? Who's going to set me up for success for the last 100 laps?
Absolutely, yeah. This is the stage of the race right now. We're approaching the halfway mark, and you're just kind of settling in. You know, you've run a fuel stint. You understand what kind of fuel range that you're expecting to get running in the pack, running with these guys. There's still a lot to learn, of course. There's still a lot that you're going to figure out over the course of the race. But you're just starting to understand, yeah, like you said, the guys around you, who you're racing. And right now, I think it's just settle in, run this stint out, make it to the halfway point, and then start slowly picking up the aggression as you continue to go. Try and stay in touch with this lead pack. That's the most important thing. And absolute credit to Matthew Weeks for kind of leading that second pack back towards this lead group, because that's given a lot of these drivers another chance here. They're now back in touch here, and you don't have to worry as much about, you know, like I was saying before, requiring a caution, needing a caution to catch up, because now you've got this whole group back together.
Yes, that inside line, though, the outside line has proved to be dominant as of late, but don't rule out that inside line. In fact, it was a move made by the 37 and the 23 that took the lead away for that stage win. I believe a lot of drivers took note. I mean, it was kind of hard to block that. I think the Ford car, I think he kind of expected that move was coming. There was no harm, no foul. Probably thought himself as sitting duck there and didn't want to, you know, risk a block that could perhaps transpire into a wreck. So that inside line still very much racy here, working lap 75 at 200.
Absolutely. And those of you tuning in at home, thank you so much. You're watching the Homeplace Beer Company Daytona 500 on the Elite Racing Network. This will be home to all of your sim racing needs, so make sure you guys are all subscribed here. We've got the Cup Series, which is kicking off here tonight at Daytona. Oh, as Ethan Burrell makes contact, huge contact there. 15 cars around. Dill Jr.'s in it. The 31 of Gerald Campbell's in it. Scott Crump's in it. Oh my gosh, huge contact there.
We were just talking about had not seen the big one, and then suddenly an issue in front of the 37 that turned him sideways. You saw Dale Earnhardt Jr. get a piece of it, as well as the 15 of Chad Frankenfield. There's Gerald Campbell involved. Jr. able to walk away from the issue. But our second caution flag of the day going to take up numerous leaders in this front pack.
Absolutely. Let's take a look and see what happened here. Watch this 37 car. See if we can maybe get a good angle at it. So he's just slightly off the top there. Oh, there's just they check up a little bit. 37 doesn't have anywhere to go, I think, but he probably could have backed up that lane a little bit, but just different speeds there from both lanes, and man, that was just a disaster waiting to happen.
Somebody nailed him really late in that. I didn't get a number of who that was.
Well, let's take a look from a few of these drivers. So here's Chad Frankenfield just behind. There you see the incident happening in front. Chad just gets kind of bodied in the wall. He's an innocent bystander in that one. Who nailed... Oh, that's the 95 there of Joshua Adams, I think is the one who nails Ethan Burrell there.
Both Adam brothers there involved. Ethan Burrell wrecked. He was our stage 1 winner. Chad Frankenfield heavily damaged. Might want to ride on board with Dale Earnhardt Jr. See exactly what he got there. He did get a piece of this. And this is the fear, how you just never have really a chance to hold your breath here at Daytona, especially being involved in this lead pack.
Yeah, for sure. It's guys were together on the racetrack. They were kind of they were starting to make runs and I was just saying this is kind of the part of the race where you maybe want to be a little bit more relaxed, but yeah, a little bit of an aggressive moving around here. But let's take a look here on board with Dale Jr. Take a look to the left-hand side of your screen. You'll start to see that accident start up and see what Junior saw.
Yeah, so Harrison Talon switched lanes in front of the 37. You see Junior just on the brakes. He gets a little bit of nose damage right there.
I will say that is wreck avoidance 101 right there by Dale Earnhardt Jr. That was pretty impressive there, how quickly he was on the brake and not slamming on it to kind of shock the guys behind. But let's go one more time back to the replay to see if we can figure out, just get a better idea as to how that incident shaped up. It looked like it was checkups. To me, it was hard to put that blame on Ethan Burrell. Obviously, he was the car that kind of had the brunt of the accident, but also it kind of looked like it was just cars coming together at different speeds, and it was just going to be a disaster.
Harrison Talon switched lanes. He goes to the bottom of the racetrack here. He makes that move right there, and I don't know if this is sudden push by the 25 car, it just pushes them into the 23.
It's just a complete difference in pace there. The 37, I think, honestly, was a bit of a bystander. That's just a racing deal right there. You can't really blame anybody, I think, for what happened there. Harrison Talon came down, and he has all ability to do that. The problem is Ethan Burrell's being pushed through the corner, which, again, you have all ability to do that. There's no worries there, but just massive pace differential there. And yeah, hard for guys to kind of avoid a wreck like that. But there you see, there's that wreck in slow motion. There you see, that's Andrew Rucker, actually, who makes big contact there initially with Chad Frankenfield. And there's the big hit from that 95 car of Joshua Adams.
Yeah, by my calculations, there are about 8 or 9 cars involved in this incident here. The field, while we were showing you these replays, has gone on to pit road. So most of the field taking 4 tires and fuel here. So we're about to get underway, but the driver probably out of this race that we know.
Yep.
As we get the call from Racing Control saying that there was just no fault. That's just Daytona. That's just racing at Daytona. But Ethan Burrell, his night is over.
Yeah, really unfortunate there to see for Burrell because he was having such a good run. Unfortunate for a couple of drivers. Chad Frankenfield, right? He was having a great run. He worked his way up to the front, got involved in that wreck. Dustin Dewar as well was involved in that wreck, was having a great day as well. So a few drivers just, that's just unfortunate for them. That's part of this racing, right? It's, and great call from Race Control. Nobody's fault there. It's just that's part of the racing here. You have such huge speed differentials. We talked to drivers. They said they were going to get big runs. There was going to be, there's going to be big runs coming when you change lanes, so be ready for it. There's not a ton you can do in that situation. So, yeah, good call by Race Control. Let's get back to racing. These guys need to reset here and start focusing on that next stage break that's coming out lap 130, but they've also got some pit stops here coming soon as well.
Yeah.
Or actually, no, they just came down pit road.
But still outside of the pit window to make it to lap 130. So we'll definitely see these guys dive back onto pit road there before we get to that lap count there. The 40 of Tyler Fode and the 61 lead them back into green flag. You see Harrison Talon, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is able to remedy whatever damage he might have had. He's still inside the top 10 there. As Tyler Fode and that 48 car, Nick Massey and Joshua Clark. How about that 28 car? Still in search of his first win. Could it happen on the biggest stage in NASCAR?
Yeah, that would be something else, wouldn't it? But let's take a look here, and as they drive through, exiting turn number 4, the field stays nice. 2 wide through there. Tyler Fode, Nick Massey leading the way, but there you go. Bronson Stafford still up front there. Keep an eye out on him. He's been running well all day long. Again, was ahead of that incident when it occurred. Harrison Talon, Dale Jr., 2 of those leaders that were kind of involved in that accident. Harrison, one of the drivers who kind of set the whole thing in motion. He stays up in second position. And actually, as Bronson Stafford goes to the top, Harrison Talon now is going to lead that bottom lane and could be taking over the lead here fairly soon. Doesn't quite get there on the bottom, but he's going to get some support now from Dale Jr. right behind him. Let's see how that team, that duo does on the bottom lane through 3 and 4.
Yeah, that DoorDash car trying to deliver a world of hurt to that outside lane there, and he's pushed by the man who's perhaps fastest all night long. That's Dale Earnhardt Jr. Just behind him, Johnny Thomas, defending Daytona 500 winner Gerald Campbell. Gerald Campbell was involved in that incident there. He is still inside the top 10. That's great to see out of our reigning champion in that 31 car. And David Tooker, he had fallen back when green flag pit stops kind of resulted here. Haven't talked much about him, but now he's in the thick of things there. His teammate, though, the 37 car, not on track. So he's going to have to try and work with his other teammates. We saw the 11 of Matthew Weeks and the 56 of Tate Lytle kind of lead that last charge we saw. We'll see if he can get in touch with his teammates again as we see the 88 car switch lanes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I was going to say the two cautions that we've had tonight, Gerald Campbell's been involved in both of them. Neither have been his fault, but he's been a bystander in both of them. That 31 car has spent the entire race damaged, but he's still up there fighting. So keep an eye out there. But this top lane starting to break away here. Dallas Myhan has worked his way up the order. He's racing there, trying to move past Harrison Talon, who's still on the bottom lane there. Meanwhile, up front, it is Stafford, Fody, Massey, and Earnhardt, with Josh Clark there rounding out that top 5. But yeah, a lot of new names inside this top 10 again, or names that are returning after a while. Little bit of a bobble in the mid-pack, but I think they all keep it pointed in the right direction, and they do.
Green with the issue. Yes, I saw him actually hit the wall on the exit at turn 4. Looks like he's going to get away with another one here today, but despite winning the pole, things have not gone well for that 38 car.
Yeah, certainly not there for Jeff Green, but still in it for sure. I mean, he's still running out here in P17, just about a second behind his teammate Tyler Fody and teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr., who are up front. Obviously, quite a few cars in between him and them, but fortunes can change fairly quickly here at Daytona. Again, wouldn't surprise me if those guys find their way together, but long way to go in the race. Dale Jr. goes to the bottom in front of Harrison Talon. Let's see if he can start pulling that bottom lane forward. Does Tyler Fody now come in front of the 88? It's a bit too late now to make that decision. Fody stays up top.
Yes, right now, but he's now been able to give that decision back, made by the 48 car of Nick Massey here. We'll see if he dives down low. Does he stick to the bottom of the racetrack here? That dynamic duo has been broken apart, but there it is. The 40 car, he'll switch lanes, and now we see them even once again in turns 1 and 2. The 40 and the 88 car getting nose to tail, and now will they switch lanes to the high side? Yes, the 88 car does so, but does not allow the 40 car to follow suit. Joshua Clark switching lanes. It is all gone to side-by-side action suddenly. What was once single file here, the front top 10, now once again back at it as we see numbers actually free fall out of that high lane. Tyler Fody there switches lanes once again. It's allowed Dale Earnhardt Jr. to the second place position. And here comes Harrison Talon once again with Gerald Campbell in tow.
Yeah, so let's see now. Fody and Earnhardt staying together up top, or will they? Will Tyler Fody see the advantage of going down and blocking that bottom lane? Let's see what the decision is. It's kind of been made for him. Harrison Talon to the quarter panel of the 40. Can he stay there, though? He needs to start side drafting, and he does, but just a little bit too late there. I think Fody's already cleared that 23, and now the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. has also cleared him. And look at the speed that those two are pulling together down that back straightaway. Just huge speed coming off of turn number 2 and being able to carry it all the way down.
I mean, they rocketed it out of the frame of our camera there. That's just how fast they were going there. Left Harrison Talon looking like he was standing still there, trying to regain some lost ground, though, in that bottom lane. That 28 car, excuse me, 23 car, not going to give up. And just behind him, the 25 car, Jacob Adams. Wasn't so long that he was in control of this race. They're trying to rebound there. He's cracked the top dozen or so cars there after that pit stop, as Tyler Fody and the 88 car have once again taken control of this field.
Yeah, watch that bottom right of your screen there. 192 miles, 193 miles an hour heading into turn number 3. That's just the effect of the push that Tyler Fode's getting. He's still breaking the air for the rest of this pack. Remember, in qualifying, we saw drivers barely scraping 178. So huge pace difference just by having support from behind or in front. This is why running in the pack is so important. As we see someone going 3 wide, that's Matthew Weeks mid-pack. They're 3 wide now. Clark, Weeks, and Adams going into turn number 1.
Yeah, we have to refer to that as the sucker hole, not the place you want to be, especially with little to no draft assistance. He has a hole to the top side in front of Rusty Capel in that 9. He'll do so and get in it in front of Dustin Dewar in that 32 car. Another one of those cars that we saw involved in that second caution flag of the night, trying to rebound. There's Vincent Isabella there as well, kind of stuck in the middle.
Up front, then, it is a breakaway. 4 cars on the top lane. Harrison Talon, though, sticking tough on the bottom, trying to make something work. He's got the support of Gerald Campbell behind, but is that 31 car too wounded to be an effective pusher? That 23 car might also have a little bit of damage to its rear bumper after getting hit by Ethan Burrell there in that last incident. So 2 wounded cars potentially leading that bottom lane. That's not going to help them make ground up on the top. So yeah, let's see if they can put something together. They're doing a commendable job right now, but will it be enough to actually overcome that top lane? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, we talk about those wounded cars there, which I believe played a factor in that second pack there when we had our first lengthy green flag run with the 64 car of Andrew Rucker earlier here. You can fix the damage on iRacing here if you're not so beat up here, and how the draft works. As long as you're in the slipstream, as what we're seeing with that 31 car, it's not going to really hurt that car's performance behind you as far as being able to push. But you're that lead car, you need to have all the fenders in the right, pointed in the right direction, not crumpled up or anything like that. That 31 car, I guarantee you, is not going to be as fast with that 23 car pushing him because of the damage on the right side of that car.
Absolutely, yeah. So as these guys start to settle in again,
Right
let's
now,
see, how this plays out.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. still in tow to the 40 car, Tyler Fode. As we still have, I believe, 36 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy right there in terms of who all is still there. Alec Balvans might be going down here fairly soon. Damage on that 5 car. But yeah, just incredible that these guys have all stayed together. There have been cars involved in incidents and have fallen a number of laps down here, but for most of these drivers, even if they've been involved, they've stayed on the lead lap, stayed competitive with the rest of this pack, and it's been impressive. We've got a large group of drivers still running here on lap 90 of 200 as the sun is almost fully set and we head into the nighttime portion of tonight's race.
Yeah, just 10 laps to go until we get to halfway. It is a long race here. One of, I believe, only 2 races where we will do the full-length featured event. This and the Coca-Cola 600, the World 600 as it is known here on iRacing for this league, will feature these drivers doing all they can virtually in the same distance that we see in the real world. So this is the point where I believe fatigue beginning to set in as well. These drivers, some of these guys, I would imagine you're just not somewhat used to it. The season usually features half length. These guys still have a full another 110 laps to do here. So when you've won at Daytona, you've done something, but just to finish a race here says something as well.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, some of the long races we've got this season are real marathons. I don't know if it's going to be a crown jewel, but the third of the really long races we have scheduled in the Cup Series is going to be Nashville Super Speedway, 400 miles around that track. That one's also going to be pretty tricky, 300 laps that is. So few long ones. These guys, you can't just be quick, you have to be smart, and you have to play a strong race over the course of a long distance for all of these events. Don't think we have a single event that's under 100 miles. Even the shortest race we have, which is the Suzuka Short Track, is still a 100-mile race. So yeah, you've got to be able to put together a strong race car for a very long time to be successful in this Cup Series.
Yes, definitely. As we see these side by side, really have not seen that high side there feature or be as dominant as what we saw there earlier in this race. Have to wonder if that has to deal with just the amount of drivers that we're seeing trying to migrate to the bottom side. I'm impressed by Harrison Talon kind of leading that charge with the 31 in tow and David Tooker. They have not given up the fight at all. Joshua Clark hanging tough in that inside lane as well. They're about to come up with some lap traffic, though, and that could throw a wrench into things here. It did last season. Yeah. Every time. I still have PTSD of lap cars in my sleep.
Yeah, no, lap cars can certainly make things interesting, especially when the lead pack is too wide like it is right here. And we haven't really seen a ton of three-wide racing today, so it puts drivers in a bit of a new situation, maybe something they're not as used to. So we'll see, though. Great job there, that 22 car. Unfortunate for him to have had the race that he had taken out on lap 2. He lets everybody by going below the yellow line. But yeah, I really hate to see that for that 22 car, but some other cars now still a lap down. And how about this? Harrison Talon now picks that top lane. He's going to lead ahead of Tyler Fody, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 23 DoorDash car. Talon's been doing a good job here. Just worked his way up to the front, was kind of in the top 3 for a long time, and has now been kind of leading respective lanes and now leads overall here at Daytona.
And, it was a move that had to be done. I don't know if the 31 car necessarily wanted it to be done, and you can see why, because he has now fallen back. He was at second half a lap ago. Now he's barely hanging on inside the top 10, and with that race car damaged, as I had mentioned, David Tooker is all over the back of him, and he has nowhere to go. You can see that outside line now really beginning to form there just because of that move made by Harrison Talon in that 23. It left the wounded 31 car on the bottom with little to no drafting assistance, and now that outside line really coming into play. However, the Pro Edge Racing Toyota Camrys, we see 3 of them in that bottom lane: Joshua Clark, David Tooker, and Matthew Weeks trying to fight back. They've been able to get around that 31 car, Jared Campbell. I don't even see actually Campbell there. He's now back in the 14th position because of that move made by Harrison Talon. Now, that's something we talk about it. Drivers, they have longer memories than elephants. You have to wonder if Jared Campbell put that in the memory bank. It was his help that allowed that 23 car to get the lead, but he kind of left him there.
Yeah, he definitely did. Gerald Campbell, so now, like you said, falls back, still in 14th position there on that bottom lane behind Michael Hossack. Just a few cars back in the lead, so not the worst thing in the world for Gerald Campbell, but obviously when you're the lead car in your pack or the second car in your pack, you're not really a big fan of these kind of moves when guys leave you, but that's part of this racing again, and we'll see if he pushes Harrison Talon back up to the front anytime again. But how about this bottom lane's really come alive, and it's being led by Dallas Myhan. Talked about him only briefly earlier in this race, but Dallas, different number than he normally runs, and a completely blacked out livery there on that 26 car. That's actually fairly common for Dallas Myhan. Again, ripe for sponsorship, because that car leading the way at Daytona looks great, but would look even better with some sponsors on it. But yeah, Dallas Myhan worked his way up from further back in the pack. Leading that bottom lane now is Matthew Weeks, former race winner here at Daytona, takes over the lead with support from teammate David Tooker.
Yeah, David Tooker and those Pro Edge Racing Toyotas looked like they had to leave Joshua Clark behind to make that move, but just as suddenly as what we saw, as we see the 11 car actually switch lanes, and now the 19 of David Tooker with a big shove from the 23. And look at that. They've just increased their miles per hour there so much on that end of the speedway right there, and it just throws David Tooker to the lead.
Yeah, it really does. It's just that on the straightaways, that outside lane just seems unrivaled in terms of the speed they're able to generate, especially when you get that push support. And Harrison Talon right now is locked onto that 19 car. He's so happy to kind of push that car ahead. There are already 3 cars ahead of that bottom lane. Dale Jr. as well might make that 4, and it is. So Matthew Weeks, that was not really the right call to move down to that bottom lane. It was an interesting move there to make that decision, but now he and Dallas Myhan need to kind of push their way back up front, and right now they kind of have an uphill battle, because all race long, all night long, that bottom lane has just not been quite as strong as the top.
And I wonder there, Rashav, is that just a force of habit by drivers? Because to me, I'm always just wanting to protect. It makes sense. Go to the bottom of the racetrack there. You've taken the lead. Now try to, go to the bottom and try to protect that spot. And then suddenly you see people on the outside there going by you. So I just have to wonder if that is just a force of habit for some of these guys. They're not used to seeing this outside line being so strong like what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, I think for us, especially with the old package, we didn't really see cars migrating up towards the top as much. It really was kind of a single file around the bottom. So again, different style of driving. So maybe some adjustments need to be made. Could also have just been he saw that run coming, wanted to block Dallas because he didn't think the 19 car would push that far ahead. He thought maybe if he went and blocked the run from the bottom lane, he'd then be able to come back up and join his teammates. But his teammates just kept on pushing. That 23 car of Harrison Talon just kept on pushing that 19 car, and they've just left that 11 in the dust. And for David Tooker, of course, you might feel for your teammate there, but you're not giving up that great push that you're getting up front right now.
No, not at all. As we are working lap 100 at 200, next time by, we will have an official race here, ladies and gentlemen. That means whatever happens, if rain comes out, we will set a winner here tonight. Now, I know iRacing is actually working on putting on rain here. Hopefully that will not spoil this event here as well. But there's something to be said here. We have reached halfway, and we still have a number of cars still left in the lead pack. I believe about 30 or so cars still on the lead lap. Have had a multitude of drivers leading here tonight. And David Tooker is going to be credited with leading lap 100. He and Harrison Talon in front of the Tyler Fody machine and Dale Earnhardt Jr., as well as the 61 car, who has been a pleasant surprise here all night long. He's been very fast in that Ford Mustang.
Absolutely. Well, I tried to do this earlier in the show, and as I was talking about it, we had our second caution of the night, so hopefully that doesn't happen this time by, but lap 100 seems like one of the best times to do this here. Once again, wanted to thank everybody who was tuning in here to the Elite Racing Network. I think we have about 80 to 85 people tuned in right now, so that's awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight on your Wednesday night, watching this great spectacle, this crown jewel event here in the Cup Series. But if you're interested in any kind of sim racing motorsport, I mean, we have the 3 levels of your NASCAR racing series. So we have the A-Class, the Cup cars, the Xfinity cars, as well as our trucks. We also have open wheel racing. Our IndyCar series is kicking off with myself, Mark Gillespie, as well as, I'm already blanking out on who we have joining us in the booth new this season. But we've got an incredible lineup there. We've got our Formula Series, our Formula One Series kicking off for the first time. Tony Donahue, kicking off with us in IndyCar and our Formula One Series as well, running on Sunday nights. So tons of racing all week long. Make sure you're subscribed to the Elite Racing Network, because that's where you're going to see all of the activity. And it's all brought to you by our fantastic premier sponsors. We'll continue to mention them throughout this broadcast, but C2 Freight Resources, Blue Egg Marketing, and Powerhouse Recycling coming on board for this season. Great to have all 3 of those guys as premier sponsors here, and of course Homeplace Beer Company for once again sponsoring this Daytona 500. JoinAPS.com as well for once again sponsoring this Cup Series. We've got a great season of racing coming ahead in 2022A, and it all kicks off right here at Daytona. It's been exceptional. The Xfinity and Trucks races already took place. They were great. Had some great action going on there. But this is the big one. This is the one that everyone in the field, everyone in elite racing leagues wants to win, the 500. Again, only 5 drivers have done it in the past. Looking for the 6th driver to etch their name in history, or for one of those 5 to become the first to win it twice.
Yes, and we are past the halfway moment here, so that means just getting closer to the money time here, where that trophy will be given and that page written in the next chapter of history for the Elite Racing Network. If you are just now joining us here on YouTube, it has been a busy 100 laps. Whoa, Michael Goodman with a little bit of a wobble in turn number 1, able to gather it up right there, but it didn't start. It didn't take long for fireworks to start early here at Daytona. Saw a wreck on lap number 2. Officially, actually, had to wave off 1 lap there for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He actually missed the gridding process there. But anything for the 2-time Daytona 500 champ to join us here tonight.
Oh, yeah.
But it didn't take long. Saw Jeff Green go around there on lap number 2. He was our pole setter there. Had Thought was clear off the bumper. Dylan Jones, he was not. A number of cars, they're scattered throughout the field that spun, not heavily damaged. So after that, we're able to go through a 70-lap stretch that included one green flag pit stop there. And then just when things were about to quiet down, not a big one, but one that we're going to be talking about here that definitely changed the complexion of this race and involved our stage 1 winner there, Ethan Burrell, being involved. A heavy impact to the outside wall. He collected Chad Frankenfield and a number of other competitors as well. Frankenfield, Ethan Burrell, and I believe there was another competitor. I'm blanking at it. We'll have to roll down to see exactly who was involved in that, but they are out of the race. Dale Jr. did get a piece of that. He's able to get on the brakes there and has not hurt his momentum there as he's traveling in the 4th position. Right now, David Tucker is in control of this race here. Harrison Talon behind him as well. He is up plus 40 spots. Basically starting dead last there. Hey, Rashad, I'd love to do it. I love to do it. Here is some NASCAR trivia for you.
I love these because I get to embarrass myself on live YouTube.
Yeah. Who won the Daytona 500? Who was the previous winner of the Daytona 500 after starting last? Who's the furthest? Sorry, I can't even talk right now, which is what I do for a living, which sucks there. But what driver holds the record for the furthest starting position to win the Daytona 500? And he did start last.
Can you give me a year, or will that give it away?
Well, yeah, I could give you the year, but that would give it away to our hardcore fans. I'll tell you this. It was within the last 15 years.
Within the last 15 years. Okay, that helps. So I'm not naming drivers from, the 60s and 70s, but
Yeah.
I'm going to ask the comments for help, and I'm going to keep glancing at my phone to see if anybody gives me that answer here. 15 years.
We'll give away the answer. We'll give away the answer to that there. Let's say the stage 2 break there.
Yeah,
so if anybody at home that's watching on YouTube there, no Google.
No, I'm not Google. I have a name that comes to mind, and the only reason it comes to mind is because it was a completely unexpected winner, but I don't know if I want to say it quite yet. So I don't know. I'll give my guess. We'll see. I'll give my guess. If I get it wrong, then we'll go to the comments and see what they think. But I'm going to say Trevor Bayne.
No.
No.
Trevor Bayne.
Okay. Then I got nothing.
I got nothing. I'll give the answer officially I'll look through the comments there to see if anybody has that as well. But we'll work in that answer there on lap 30 at the end of stage number 2. But before we get there, we are going to have a green flag pit stop. They went green at about lap 80. That tells me that we are about in the 30 lap range. So these would tell me they would need to go back here on get service about 10, 12 laps from now.
Yeah, they're getting close here. It looks like we've been expecting about 40 lap runs or so on each of these stints. So we'll take a look and see how far these guys get. I think we're running about lap 35 or so on this stint. I pulled up those stints a little bit earlier. Let's take a look again as we see here. There you see 32 laps into this particular run.
See that inside line also beginning to take form there. That's Matthew Weeks in the 11, pushed by Dallas Myhan in the 26, and then Jacob Adams. I'm going to give him the Attaboy Award there. Anytime that top side lane looks strong, that 25 car is in the exact opposite lane, trying to bring them down. And right now, he's once again offering his assistance to try and get that inside line back up to the point.
So I have a guess or a comment for who won that race from the furthest back, but you won't guess who it's from. It's from a driver. It's from Chad Thornquist here in this 02 car. He commented his guess at it while he's been running in the pack here, and it's not like he's running alone here. He's well within this pack.
Well, Rashad, don't I often say it? Nobody gets you closer to the action.
So
in this
okay,
broadcast team, that is some heads-up driving there by driver to be able to listen in there, Chad. I think the NASCAR officials, though, would like to talk to you about having your phone while you're racing 50 miles an hour there. But we won't.
That one might be frowned upon, though I do know for a fact that Chad Frankenfield texts while he's racing his virtual NASCAR as well. So, we'll say what it is, not throwing anyone under the bus. But Chad Thurquist's guess is Waltrip in 03.
No, it is not Waltrip in 03.
All right. I have another guess as well from Dave Huckleberry, who's our man on the ground here, listening to Race Control and giving us updates there. His guess is Matt Kenseth.
That would be correct. Matt Kenseth, 2009.
All right, how about that? Nice job, Dave.
Yeah, but he's in the booth, so people are going to think that is, although we can't hear him or anything, people are going to see that is, what do you call it, inside trading. So we'll offer another question or something. I'll think of something else there.
All right,
but yeah,
perfect.
Matt Kenseth back in 2009 started, I believe, he started dead last and led a grand total of 1 lap before rain. Was able to impact that race. Got a big assist by Kevin Harvick there on the last lap. That was a lap that replaced in the mind of Elliott Sadler. The lap beforehand, he had just gotten rid of that lead. As we see the 11 car, Matthew Weeks, switch lanes to get in front. How important it is to get to the top side there. Obviously, very much important. So that the 11 car left his partner hanging. The 26, they had been working together pretty faithfully there. But now we're seeing 2 Pro Edge Racing Toyotas there inside the top 5.
Yeah, Matthew Weeks, I mean, he's been great working his way back up. We haven't seen a ton of pace from that bottom lane, but he found just that little bit extra and kind of pushed his way up. So P3 right now for that 11 car. Again, former race winner, very good on large racetracks. Once you get to about 1.5 miles and up, and even there's a couple of smaller tracks on 1.5 miles that he really likes, specifically Darlington, I know he loves. But, I mean, once you get to these really big tracks, though, Matthew Weeks, he just loves everything about these really quick tracks. You're close to flat out or flat out all the way around tracks like Michigan, like Pocono, like Daytona and Talladega, of course, like Indianapolis. He loves these racetracks. And showing that again, he just performs well. He always has the car. He's always able to put himself in the position to perform well at these races. And we're seeing that again here. Matthew Weeks didn't start too high up either at the start of the race, but over the course of the first half of this event, worked his way up. Right now running P3, and he's got a teammate a couple of cars in front of him. So yeah, certainly don't count him out. There's also a huge number of cars in that Pro Edge Racing stable. So those guys get together. That's a very powerful thing to overcome for the rest of this field.
Dallas Myhan there might be murdering under his breath how he doesn't need that Pro Edge Racing Toyota Camry because he decided to take that position away from the 11 car. And he's looking at one thing, and that is a chance for the lead here in that 26 car. And he's pushed by the number 1 pusher, I would say, of the day, the 25 car, Jacob Adams. And look in that 64 car, Andrew Rucker has been involved in every incident that we've had here tonight on either on pit road or on the track. He is still in the thick of things there inside the top 10. Look at that race car there.
Yeah, Andrew Rucker, that car's certainly seen some better days. You can see a little bit
of livery as well there. You see some of these drivers running some of the numbers there forward, which is a real life, real world adaptation for these race cars. Other drivers do have that number in the middle there, but I really like what's done for Andrew Rucker right here. That's a really cool livery on that race car.
Absolutely, yeah. Shout out Days Gone By Vintage Apparel. They sponsor a number of cars here in the field and have been a sponsor of and partner with Elite Racing Leagues for a long time here. And yeah, that's a great looking livery. That's, I think, one of the best ones they've put together over the course of the seasons they've been involved. So shout out there. Days Gone By Vintage Apparel, Aggressive Eagle Motorsports, Andrew Rucker moving over to that team to race for them. We'll see kind of how that plays out for his season. He's hoping to go and make the chase this season, race for a championship. But right now, his goal is set on one thing, and that's going for a second Daytona 500 crown.
And I apologize if I stepped over you there, Rasav. You see that party move to the bottom of the racetrack. Like I said, I'm having a microphone issue with my headset there. Like, it's turning off every 10 minutes. Don't know exactly why. So and I fear, because every time I don't hear you, I'm just like, oh, there might be an issue. So I'll just keep talking, and that might not be the case. So, sorry. But right now, we're seeing drivers, I believe, get ready for some green flag pit stops here. It has definitely shuffled the running order of most on this field. In fact, a lot of competitors that were in that outside line, including what we saw with Tyler Fode in the 40 car. as well as the 88 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr. They have fallen back all the way to the top lane as suddenly everybody's jumping to the bottom of the racetrack here. I believe green flag pit stops are about to happen.
Yeah, and you see the unfortunate message there from race control. Dylan Jones has joined the list of cars that's retired from this race. So unfortunate there. He had such a great run, of course. Yeah, I mean, well, I can't say he had a great run, but he had a great starting spot. He did great in his duel, but taken out so early in this race and was kind of rolling around from here on, but looked like it was just race-ending damage on that car, but made it past the halfway mark. Credit to Dylan Jones for sticking in it for this long, but man, that's a tough way to start your season for sure.
Yes, definitely. No one wants to be, but he made his name. Definitely fun to talk about him last week, and hope to see him back as this party has now migrated the world's longest and fastest conga line there on the bottom of the racetrack there. Didn't see who was that poking out. Don't know if that was the 88 car or the 04. I believe it was Thompson there. As we see cars go down pit road here. Pit road is about to be a busy place, including our leader, 23. And we see, hopefully, no one had any speeding penalties right there.
I was going to say the 23 was second place, and he had an aggressive entry to pit road. We'll see if he sped, making it down there. But yeah, how about that? 23 overtakes the 19 car in the entrance. If he didn't speed entering pit lane, what an entrance.
That's allowed Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Tyler Fody to take the lead there. That was a big group of cars that did go down pit road. We'll see what happens here. We saw the field get strung out there, and it did kind of take some work once we were on the other side of green flag pit stops. It's only the second set we've had here tonight in order to get caught back up, so we'll see what happens here. We did have an issue there the last time there. Looks like Jacob Adams is going to be the lone taker on pit road this time by. The rest of the field staying out.
Yeah, so this is interesting. We saw something similar to this last time around where we had a group of cars that stayed out quite a long time, but I'm pretty sure it was the group that came in earliest that had, I think, the most success back out on the pack. So back out, so yeah, we'll see. No action on pit road, so Harrison Talon didn't speed, so just a great entrance there from that 23 car, as those guys are now back out onto the racetrack. But yeah, we'll see. Different strategies, guys playing it out differently. I really don't see too much of a downside here to staying out on the racetrack longer if it means you're saving some more fuel. It could potentially hurt these guys in terms of making it to the end of the stage at the front. But how about this? Ooh, a little bit of chaos entering pit road, but everybody seems to keep it all together here. Fody and Dale Earnhardt Jr. to lead the rest of this field.
Yeah, somebody on the outside of Junior there. I think that was Johnny Thomas in the 40 and Massey that decided to stay out right there. Almost a big wobble that almost got into the side of Junior as they were exiting off the racetrack to get back onto pit road.
Yeah, and Johnny Thomas, I think, is the guy who got the worst end of this here. He's got some traffic to deal with right now. Let's see if they're able to at least pull him along and give him some speed. But Johnny Thomas right now completely alone on the racetrack. A little bit of a gap to Massey and Therian, so no support at all, and that's the last thing you want to see out here. So got a little bit of a break here with that group, but has to come down pit road this time by. He does. Massey and Therian coming with him. That helps quite a bit. We'll see how that pays off for him as here we go. Fody and Stafford coming off pit road. How about that? Bronson Stafford beats that 40 car off of pit road. And there's that first group that came down. I said that last time around they were the ones who came out in front. This time around they do the same.
Yes, you see Stafford and Fody there. Who I don't see is Dale Earnhardt Jr. He is now tagged on with Jeff Green as we see that second pack there as well, so might have had an issue getting on and off of pit road. He was within, that lead pack with 61 and the 40 car. So we'll see if he can hang on to this lead pack there and not be in danger of losing the draft. I think he will be able to do exactly just that, but he has some work cut out for him in that 88 car.
Yeah, and the report is it's a long pit stop, 20 seconds stationary in his pit box for Dale Earnhardt Jr., so something went wrong there, but now, I mean, we saw him do it earlier in the race, right? Going from 44th to 1st, and now he just has to do from 25th to 1st. Just goes right around Dustin Dewar and Rusty Capel. The speed that he's able to carry in that 88 is absurd. He's one of the few cars I've seen go out on his own, on any lane and be able to hold his own against these other drivers. This time, maybe it won't work. Alec Balvans hangs on there in the 5 car to the bottom lane, but how about that? Dale Jr. moving to the top. He goes behind Alec Balvans and then dives to the bottom. Dale Jr. slicing and dicing, trying to make his way back up through this field.
And I believe he desperately wants to make sure that he's not left by some of these cars that are fast as well. You see just in front of him, the 25 of Jacob Adams as he gets to the back bumper of Scott Haney in that 3 car right there. Wow, big run to the outside lane there. I believe he's been able to remedy himself. He won't lose the draft there. That was the problem number 1. Now, problem number 2 is just getting through this traffic. Wow, they stack up.
Whoa, and Dale Jr.
gets burned. That's going to bring out a yellow flag. Can he save it? He does. He's hard on the brakes. Wow. Almost getting wiped out by another competitor, but the 2-time Daytona 500 Series champion has an issue on the backstretch. The 3rd yellow flag is out.
So it was the 45 and the 25 coming together that I think brought this whole situation about. Let's take a look at the replay, see if we can get a better angle at this. Because, man, oh man, I don't know if that was Junior who was the one totally responsible for the way that played out. Let's take a look. Try a different angle here.
There was a car that shot out from, they had gotten on the double yellow line, and some car just shot out there. Yes.
Yeah, so it was, there you see, it was the 25.
And rushed people.
Yeah, 25 and 45 made contact. The 45 had to kind of take avoiding action. So a swipe to the side of Dale Jr., but that's the only damage to that 88 car, a little bit to the spoiler, but he's kind of been, I will say, he's been fairly lucky today in terms of wreck avoidance. I mean, just talk about that. Obviously involved in that one, but no walls hit. That car should still be able to run fairly well. And then, of course, just narrowly avoiding Ethan Burrell. But definitely, yeah, some damage there to the side of the 88. Let's go back to that replay.
Ethan, I don't know exactly who that was because Ethan's been out. But, yeah, whoever that was did all they could not to hit the 88 car. And that was quite an issue. But yeah, let's take a look and see what happens here.
All right, let's take a look at this and maybe see if we can get it at quarter speed. It's going to be hard to get it at this angle, but you're going to see the 45 and the 25 are eventually going to come together. So there's that top lane, the 3 and the 88 here at quarter speed. Those guys have to go to the middle of the racetrack now because of that the 70 car who's a lap down. So that's fine, but there's a checkup. Yeah, there's a checkup here on the bottom. Caused a little bit ahead.
Jacob Adams gets into the 45, who then gets into the side of the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr., who thankfully, look at that hole right there. He didn't collect another car. But yeah, Junior going for a wild slide on the backstretch there. Not as wild as what we've seen out of him in recent years. I remember one year in the Xfinity Series, he got turned like that, and he was suddenly upside down.
Yeah, very, very fortunate there. And yeah, look at just how close some of those cars were. Rusty Capel also with the slide, but that was mostly just avoiding. But there you see both those guys on pit road. And for Junior, he's been on pit road here for about 30 seconds, so just getting damage repaired there. Will he go a lap down, though? There's Harrison Talon coming off or heading into turn number 3, so should, assuming Junior's able to leave his pit box early enough, he should stay on the lead lap. We'll keep an eye on that.
So this caution flag is going to come out there. We should go back to green before the end of the stage break, which will be lap 130. These guys had just been onto pit road, so I don't expect any of our leaders really to do anything here. Maybe you're mid-pack, perhaps why not go ahead and top off? You see the 88 car returning back to the racing track surface. So that tells me that he's gotten his damage fixed. He won't go a lap down, but definitely the side of that 88 car pretty scraped up after being involved in the 3rd yellow flag of tonight's race.
Yeah, let's see if he brings that back down pit road.
So.
It really has been. I mean, it's been ridiculous. I mean, just the way it's played out. Great racing. Only 3. Yeah, okay, wait. I gotta find the wooden surface here. Only 3 cautions so far tonight. But I mean, yeah, they've been doing a great job. The racing's been exceptional, side by side for a majority of this event. And yeah. We did have a big one with Ethan Burrell, but a few cars taken out of that one, a few really good cars taken out of that one, but still a lot of great race cars still in this race. 126, or lap 126 we're on right now. Lap 130, I believe, is going to be the next stage, if I'm correct. And that's going to be one to look out for here because we're probably only going to have a couple of lap shootout.
Yeah, that's going to be one where things could get crazy. Hopefully not too crazy here. You're still looking at 70 laps to end this one. But yeah, as we see Harrison Talon able to take the lead, and I don't think what he's done tonight can be overexpressed here. He's started deep in this field. He has gained 41 spots since the drop of the green flag. So definitely the biggest mover of the race here, and doing so pretty well nicely. Dallas Myhan also nothing to sneeze at in that 26 car. He's up 37 spots. So great racing and some great attention not to be in any mistakes here tonight by those two, as we are 4 laps away from stage 2 going to end here in that third and final stage underway. Barry getting an arm workout with the green flag back in hand, and we'll see it 4 laps to settle it as they're off into turn number 1.
Yeah, Harrison Talon, Matthew Weeks, great breakaway by those guys. How about this? Josh Robin, we haven't mentioned his name once tonight in that 8 car, but he's now up front, and he loves these super speedway tracks. He performs really well at them, has been quiet all day today, but now as it kind of starts winding down, that car is becoming more prominent, and he leads that top lane. Though not a ton of pace right now on that top as the bottom. Ooh.
Almost there, the 8 car there, as we were talking about, and almost had an issue. Dallas Myhan to get off the brakes as we see Andrew Rucker go to the outside lane. Everybody diving, doing their best to try and improve. Remember, the top 10 awarded points here, and a precious playoff point going to be on the line. Harrison Talon in fight for what would be his first ever stage win. I don't believe he's ever won a stage in the Elite Racing Series.
Yeah, not sure on the statistics about stages there, but yeah, I mean, Harrison Talon, we've seen occasionally where that 23 car has been looking great, but right now, this is, I think, the best we've seen Harrison Talon in a long time, and doing a great job there with the supportive teammates behind him, or not direct teammates, but affiliates. Fueled Up Racing there, as well as Pro Edge Racing. They work very closely together, so there is a relationship there, friendship. Matthew Weeks, David Tooker behind him. Those guys potentially expect them to stick together here on the bottom. Vincent Isabella as well, very familiar with that group of cars there. So, and you've got Joshua Clark. So that's actually a very stout group of cars, those top 5 on the bottom.
Yes, and it's going to be very hard to beat them. You see that wounded car, the Andrew Rucker machine, still trying to do all he can in that outside line. But just as we talked about that, Joshua Clark actually goes up to try and grab some draft there. He'll work in that outside lane. Tate Lytle going to take that spot as we see Johnny Thomas and Tyler Fody in that 40 car there work their way. We are coming up just 1 lap to go in the stage. The 04, Caleb Thompson as well. All this happening single file racing behind the 23 of Harrison Talon. He wants to add his name into the history books here at Daytona. Could he do so in a lap with a stage 2 win?
Well, let's take a look here. This outside lane starting to form, and I think he's going to have to make a decision on the back straightaway when this outside lane gets its run. Vincent Isabella leads the way with the support of Tate Lytle and Johnny Thomas on that top lane. They should be getting fairly solid run here, I think, off of turn number 2. Let's see if they're able to actually turn it into anything. Right now, though, I think that bottom might just be strong enough with Harrison Talon, Matthew Weeks, and David Tooker. Great pushing there from those 2 Toyotas. And he does stay in front. So Harrison Talon right now stays in the lead ahead of Matthew Weeks. Will Weeks pull out on that 23 car? Currently deciding against it off of turn 4. Looks like they'll stay together to grab the end of this stage.
Harrison Talon with an assist push by Matthew Weeks, and Talon going to score his first stage win here for the Elite Racing League JoinAPS Cup Series. Great job made by that DoorDash Chevrolet Camaro there. And we are suddenly now in the last stage of this race.
Yes, we are. It's really starting to wind down now, and I think pressure is going to start building up for these guys. Expectations are building. Expect to start seeing guys make bigger moves, get bigger runs, things like that. We're kind of quickly getting into that phase of the race, I think, where guys are starting to realize maybe I'm not in the part of the racetrack where I want to be. I'm not in the pack where I want to be. I got to make some moves here. Little update on Dale Jr. Still back in 22nd position. Hasn't been able to make as much headway as he wanted. Looks like that 88 car maybe a little bit more crippled than it kind of looks. Struggling, I think, to keep up with this lead pack here. So unfortunate there for that 88 car. We'll keep you updated, though, if he's able to pull something off. Remember, that was the fastest car basically on track prior to the incident.
Yeah, we'll see if that's just not giving himself perhaps some running room there in case things start to get wild up front, which they are beginning to do so. Here comes the 61 of Stafford in that, I believe, kind of scheme that kind of looks well with Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing there. He has a teammate there just behind him of the Tata 40 machine there. They're doing some great work in that 83 car there, and yes, the 83, that's the highest we've seen him all night as well, as something that outside line beginning to take form once again.
Yeah, that outside line with a huge push as 4 cars now clear over Harrison Talon, Vincent Isabella, Shane Therian, Tyler Fode, Bronson Stafford, and Stafford takes back over the lead. He's been leading quite a bit here in kind of this middle stage of the race, and now gets a teammate right behind him, Shane Therian, and those two locked together on the bottom. That could be a dangerous duo as well. Again, every time I see teammates together on the racetrack, you never know. That's when things can start getting serious. You don't know what they have planned, and those are the guys you're going to work the closest with here on the racetrack. So keep an eye out on that bottom lane. Right now, up top, Tyler Fode, Vincent Isabella, trying to stay in touch with those guys. First time in a while we've kind of seen that bottom lane with a advantage, at least for more than a lap or two. But that top lane's trying to get some work, but maybe a bad hit there from Vincent Isabella is going to check them all up, and that's going to hurt them even more.
Yeah, Vincent Isabella did a great job there allowing the 40 car, Tyler Fode, to hang on. That is a moment inside the race car. I don't know what that feels like even virtually there, but I guarantee you that took the breath away from the 40 car, because that was a big wobble there. Had a chance to correct it, and that's exactly what was needed for that 40 car, but they lost a ton of time in that outside lane, and now suddenly the inside lane, as you had talked about there, really being dominant for the first time really since the start of this race here. They have 5, make it 6 cars in single file formation on the bottom.
Yeah, they do. This is looking really good, and it's led by 2 rookies. I mean, how about this from Bronson Stafford, Shane Therian? Both of them have extensive iRacing experience, don't get me wrong, but to be new to the Elite Racing Leagues, the level of competition that we have here in the league, the way that guys drive, it is kind of a new atmosphere, especially the Cup Series, and both these guys have taken to it fantastically well, and they're both leading the way here in the Daytona 500 with under 70 laps to go. Incredible job by both of them. They've both put on fantastic shows tonight. Let's see how their night continues to play out. Long way to go in the race. But certainly promising right now for these guys who are up front.
Yes, just behind them, though, haven't talked much about our defending series champion, and that would be the 56 car of Tate Lytle, riding along there in the top 5. First time here tonight there. If you ask Tate Lytle how he feels about Daytona and Talladega, he'd say he loves it. He'd also say I'm lying.
I was going to say, it might be best if we ignore the 56 car for the rest of the race, because that might be his best shot, because there's something about that car that doesn't gel with these types of racetracks. He doesn't enjoy it. He doesn't. He's self-proclaimed, says, he doesn't enjoy racing here. He doesn't feel like he performs well at these types of racetracks. So to see that 56 car up here, to me, it feels like a ticking time bomb. We all saw how that duel ended, duel number 2 with was it duel 2 or duel 1? I forget already. With
duel 2.
Yep.
What do you mean? You don't like being at the catch fence 30 feet in the air, flipping wildly? I call that Tuesday.
So I mean, hey, he still got a pretty solid result there in that duel, so can't complain about that. But I mean, he was fighting for the win all the way towards the end there with teammate Ethan Burrell. But Tate Lytle doesn't love Daytona. I don't think Daytona loves Tate Lytle too much. But let's see how this race plays out. Currently running in 6th. Again, running well on that bottom lane, kind of the fourth car in line there, as that top starting to reorganize here. Matthew Weeks, Tyler Fody, that's a strong duo leading the way. Vincent Isabella, don't count out that 12 car or that 64 of Andrew Rucker. As, bit of a split there between those two teammates who are running up front, the two rookies, and now they both lead their respective lanes. So how about that? Shane Therian up top, Bronson Stafford on the bottom, and Therian saw a chance to get past the 61 with the momentum the top lane had, and he's gone. The Bronson Stafford, that bottom lane, they've completely lost any of the juice they had before, and you're starting to see the rest of these guys just falling behind, and now it's Weeks, Therian up front with Tyler Fody supporting on the top lane. This could get very interesting here with a very quick closing rate. Tyler Fody, though, good job avoiding any kind of major wreck. Same with Shane Therian.
Yes, and the 83 is going to be able to lead a lap there. That's an important bonus point there. I believe that was probably the decision made by him to try and get in front of his teammate there. But you're right, the closing rate we saw once the 11 decided he didn't want to work with the 83 car kind of stalled out both those cars, and suddenly the pack behind them had a decision to make. Thankfully, they were able to drive okay out of it. But yes, that was a moment there, and I was surprised to see just how much slow those guys were once they broke apart from one another versus the rest of the field at speed. Look at that 88 car creeping up back into the picture here. He's just knocking on the outside of the top 10 as we see these guys go around some lap traffic.
Yep, that's Jordan Owens in the 45 involved in that incident that took out Dale Jr. Again, that entire incident was a racing deal, but for Jordan Owens, I mean, you've got to hate being the guy who, it obviously wasn't his fault, but you got to hate being the guy who made contact with Dale Jr. and sent him spinning. But yeah, unfortunate for Jordan Owens, who raced his way in through the duels to make the Daytona 500 as an open entry. Unfortunately, the day itself hasn't been going too well kind of since the green flag.
60 laps to go here. Still need a green flag pit stop to make it back to the end. Still double wide action throughout most of the field here. Not an advantage in the lines as of the run, as how they run currently right now. Tyler Fody, though, on that outside, getting a big draft and assistance there from Vincent Isabella. They run side by side, entering turn number 1, and I'm telling you, the side by side battles throughout the entire pack, about 5, 6, 7, 8 rows deep here. But that 83 car hanging tough. There's Matthew Weeks as well. The 11 car, he's the lone repeat winner inside the top 10, trying to make his way back to Daytona victory lane here in a big way.
For sure. You can see great runs going on, side-by-side action up front. That top lane starting to fall off just a little bit. They got to get reorganized and see if they can put together another run here. As we are on lap 142, we really haven't had too many cautions to kind of talk about the stuff that we normally talk about when we take our breaks during those caution times, and that's our great premier sponsors here at the Elite Racing League. C2 Freight Resources, they've been with us what feels like forever now. It's been a couple of seasons. They're fantastic partners. Sponsor there on that 38 car of Jeff Green, and their complete freight management service that are ready to meet your needs today, as well as whatever your changing needs are in the future. With thousands of qualified carriers in their database, they're capable of handling shipping for every type of good, from perishable foods all the way to office equipment. We also want to thank Blue Egg Marketing, who's been on board with us since last season, coming back with us for the 2022A season. And Blue Egg Marketing, they are the marketing department for small businesses. Proud sponsor of that 40 car, Tyler Fody. That bird, it's recognizable there, and they are the marketing department for your small business. So whatever your constraints are, they'll help catalyze creativity, and they'll help you punch above your weight class. So check out Blue Egg Marketing as well. And happy to bring on Powerhouse Recycling this season as a new premier sponsor, joining as the third sponsor here of the Elite Racing Leagues. Powerhouse Recycling strives to offer the highest level of customer service in the industry for each load processed time and time again. Obtainable account representatives, prompt and on-time pickups, and customized recycling solutions keeps Power House Recycling as a North Carolina market leader in customer service. They believe in quality customer service before, during, and after the processing of a client's materials. They strongly believe through their superior customer service, customized recycling, and complete transparency that they can earn their clients' business and hold longevity in their business relationships. So great to have them on board as well. Great premier sponsors. They are really the ones who keep these series running. They're the ones who help build the purse, help us run these broadcasts. We really cannot exist as a league without these guys. So big shout out, C2 Freight Resources, Blue Egg Marketing, Powerhouse Recycling. Back to the action. Bit of a funny camera there with the blimp as they go upside down. But back to a bit of a normal scene there as Bronson Stafford, Tyler Fode have kind of broken away from the rest of this pack.
Yeah, you saw them get around the wounded car, Gerald Campbell there just a lap ago. But I wanted a quick mention here. The Elite Racing Network, the Elite Racing League, has over 440 members here. So great to see these sponsors there. They do so much to keep the action here fast and furious and exciting here for these guys that are racing for something. I mean, the purse here is going to be over the season over $1,500. So that's not something to sneeze at here. Somebody's going to walk away after the season with $500. So a lot to be racing on the line here, including an extra $20 just for winning this race. So these guys, their sponsors, they do it all here and helping us bring you coverage. And we're so glad to be partnered with them once again for the 2022 season. Outside line led by Matthew Weeks. We saw Tate Lytle and Dallas Myhan switch lanes right there. Jeff Green has been able to make his way inside the top 10 for the first time really since that earlier issue on lap number 2. Haven't talked much about him as well. You see the 70 car, Erasmus, also a couple of laps down there, but he has been hanging tough and still has a fast car.
Yeah, this is interesting here. Between Dale Jr. and Jeff Green, you have the lapped car of Jordan Owens. Curious to see, Owens, obviously, that car is still running well, it seems, and he's able to run inside the pack. Same with Rasmus there. So let's take a look and see kind of how this plays out. I wonder if they'll kind of stick around or if they'll start to back out as we get down into the later stage of the race, because that also becomes really interesting in how the race plays out and how these lanes play out.
Yes, exactly. Right now, if we did get a caution, Owens is the first car one lap down, so he would be entitled to get the free pass there. They had just left Gerald Campbell, who had been pretty much, he had been on the lead lap until just right then, but that car's been heavily wounded. I think he's outside of the lead pack, so as long as somebody doesn't go a lap down in front of Owens there before that yellow flag, he would be awarded the free pass. Matthew Weeks and David Tucker, though, they're doing all that they can with help from Tate Lytle on that outside line, but they're beginning to fall back. In fact, that inside line, that is the strongest we really have seen it all night long as our laps begin to dwindle down here. We are getting to the last quarter race distance of this race.
Yes, we are, and yeah, we're getting close to it. These guys all stuck together, but that hasn't really stopped Dale Jr. from working his way forward. How about that? That 88 car, despite the damage, up into P6. He's back in this fight, and certainly don't discount him from grabbing this Daytona 500, because that 88 car still looks pretty rapid, despite the damage that's been done to it. I'd love to see what it is like in clean air to really have a good idea, but right now in the pack, running around the rest of these guys, he's been able to make moves, work his way forward. Has a car separating him and Jeff Green, but those two together could have been, been part of that success in moving forward. They're not too far away from teammate Tyler Fode either, so keep an eye on that. They could start to work on something. Here you go, Dale Jr. looking to the outside, maybe just grabbing some fresh air, but I think he's planning something relatively soon if that outside lane starts to really form, and it looks like it might be.
Yeah, I was watching a pretty cool race there during the Talladega race last season, during the rain delay. Junior and NBC analyst Jeff Burton, they were able to describe a race that occurred back in 2001. And it was interesting to me, the line that Dale Jr. was running. He said that he kind of rode not right on that double yellow line, but just kind of a foot above it there in front of Jeff Burton there. And he said that that was in order to make sure that his car wasn't wearing out the tires, as well as making sure that he didn't give anybody a chance behind him so much of the draft. And I thought it was an interesting line because it kind of reminds me of what he's kind of running, right now. I don't know how much of, the 2001 package translates to a 2022 next gen package, but the mindset from what I'm seeing from Dale Jr. kind of tells me that it's the exact same. Kind of protect your tires there. You're going to need that. You definitely want to make sure. We don't often talk about tires at super speedway, but they do play a factor as being able to maneuverability in these race cars there, especially late in this one. And I just thought it was interesting to see how that 88 car kind of pokes out a line, that conversation that he and Jeff Burton had together while analyzing that race during a rain delay last year was pretty awesome to hear.
Yeah, that is really awesome, and just an insight into the driver's mind, right? I mean, it's so, different ways that drivers think about things, and that's what makes this sport, I think, so unique. Is look at this. This is getting a little bit hairy as guys trying to side draft each other, coming in, and that outside lane working well actually kind of bottles up that inside group. The big gap here on that inside lane, interestingly enough, where I think Jacob Adams just hasn't quite been able to keep up on that bottom lane. Damage to that 25 car, don't forget. So, yeah, they lose a couple of positions there. That's going to hurt, for people who are fans of Dale Jr., which I think is just about everybody. That kind of hurts his chances a little bit, but still has some work to do and still some time to go, as we are over 3/4 distance. But yeah, just gives you an idea. Maybe not as much pace as you might hope in that 25 and 88 car.
Yeah, but they might be down, but I would not count them out. They continue to work their way up through the field here, and they just need a shot. You give that 88 car a shot, I guarantee you he is going to take it. Caution is out, though. Yellow flag number 4 here. And that's going to slow the race coverage down.
Wait a second. Oh, excuse me. Had the wrong thing back. I actually still had the notifications from the last caution. I saw Dale Jr. crash. He was on our screen, and I was very confused for a second, but here we go. We'll see what we can find. Looks like, unfortunately, there it's already happening there. Wow, huge hit, and Tate Lytle. Tate Lytle,
we were just mentioning there. Dallas Myhan involved. This is a big one. The 98 you see with some damage. It amazes me how we have the big wrecks on the straightaway there, but that's exactly what plays out here more often than not. Saw that in last year's real Daytona 500 toward the end of the backstretch. Let's see and take a look at what took out our defending series champion, Tate Lytle, who will tell you, well, he probably expected it.
Yeah, he will, but I'm going to tell you, you're not going to expect what you're about to see here. I'm watching this replay, and let's see if we can grab it back, but this is going to be interesting to watch back a number of times. Let's take a look here. Watch those first 2 cars of Matthew Weeks and David Tooker, because that's where this all starts. Teammates.
Oh, he gets into him on that left side quarter panel, and I mean, this is a big crash. There's nobody. Half the outside lane and most of the inside lane fall victim to that. That all happened because of where David Tooker was on the racetrack in relationship to Matthew Weeks. He got on that left rear quarter panel. That's the most vulnerable part of these next-gen cars. It doesn't matter what any type of race car there. You get on the left rear quarter panel, especially out of the turn, the car's really light. The car's going to go around, and that's unfortunately what happened between Pro X Racing teammates right there. David Tooker gets into the back of Matthew Weeks, and around he goes.
So once again, let's take a look now following that 11 car Matthew Weeks, just see if we can get any idea as to where that all went wrong. It was just a bump gone bad.
Yep. I mean, Johnny Thomas also got some damage there. Don't know how hurt the 11 car is.
Yeah, Justin Fortner.
Jeff Green got a piece of it.
Oh, Jeff Green got a hit from Fortner. Jesse Razimus. We saw Rusty Capel, I think, also got involved in that. Let's see, avoiding the damage, spins it. Ooh, that 9 car actually, I think, might have just avoided everything and stops right there with the 70 car. So good job, Rusty Capel. Shout out there for that wreck avoidance. Kind of driving through that minefield. But
Dallas Myhan, I'm trying to write down exactly all the cars that were involved right there. Maybe we can go back to that replay and just slow it down. But there were, I believe, at least 12 to 15 cars involved in this. Latest issue exiting turn number 2, the big one of the night. And I'm telling you, who was lucky in all that, Dale Earnhardt Jr. had just cleared that from happening.
Yeah, that was very close for Junior there, and let's take a look here. Let's see if we can slow it down here. So this is gonna be your nice and slow motion video of how this all took place. You're gonna see the bump gone slightly wrong from Tooker there.
Yep.
And I think that's going to kind of set it off a little bit early on my call there, but there it is.
Just the momentum. It hooked Jeff Green, and then everybody in that outside line suddenly has to scramble.
Johnny Thomas got hit in that. He touches the outside wall. Little bit of chaos from there, but not too much hit there. The 04 goes spinning, though, in avoidance. There you see that Rusty Capel car driving by. See if we follow that. So there's Tate Lytle. There's that contact. So the 91 got a bigger hit there. You see the 70 car. The 8 car gets a hit. Josh Robin. Just, I don't think we have a wide enough camera that gets all of these cars in one shot. Man, a lot of good race cars torn up in that one.
The 9 car, I'm telling you, just almost got hit multiple times there. He did a great job. I would give that. They used to give a Goodyear, good hands move of the race. I would give that to that 9 car there.
Well, already the field's bunched back up and ready to go back at this again. 45 laps. So incident, no fault there. Good call there from race control. I think that was just a bad hit and miscommunication between teammates, honestly. Yeah, this will be interesting. 45 laps to the end here. Not sure if guys are going to be able to make it to the end on this fuel load. So, could we see a fuel saving situation if we don't see another yellow? But with 45 laps to go, we could see another yellow, and that changes everything back again. But how about this? Tyler Fode, Dale Jr. lined up on the bottom. That could be dangerous. Let's see how this plays out with the lights off on the pace car.
So we're going to have 44 laps to go by the time we return back. See Joshua Clark, also another Pro Edge Racing car, unfortunately going to retire because of that issue. Tyler Fode and Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the inside with the rookies on the outside. Old school versus new cool. What's going to happen here as they race into turn number 1?
Here they come. That outside lane looks like it has the advantage at the start, at least, and you can see aggressive pushing mid-corner, and now the bottom lane starts the pushing mid-corner as well, and actually the top with the much better run off of turn number 2. Look at that, both of them clear, and they're going to come down to the bottom in front of the 40 car, leaving Richard Hines now to lead that top lane. Great start on the outside by the 2 rookies.
Yes, they do. They took the veterans there to school right there, as they were able to get hooked up nose to tail. Have to wonder, though, I was just a little bit concerned by that aggressive push there, what we saw between teammates just a couple of laps ago. Have to wonder about that damage on the left side of the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. as well. He might, unfortunately, just not be in great form to push 40 in that 40 car there, just because of the damage that he has. Don't know necessarily what it's like outside of the draft, but he's not been able to get to the back bumper. Is that by design, though? We had mentioned about saving fuel. You can do so there by staying tucked up in the lead draft here, right behind another competitor.
Yeah, let's watch that outside lane as the 87 ducked down a little bit. That could have been bad if he'd gotten a bad bump, but they do a good job there at recovering. That's going to hurt, I think, the momentum on the top lane. This bottom, late in the race, has been looking like the place to be. Just the way these guys have been able to get runs and perform here. Stafford, Therian, Fode, Earnhardt, Hines, your top 5. The Hines coming back and passing Earnhardt there. That top lane trying to build something back up. They have the numbers to do so. They just need to probably get a little bit closer there up front especially. Let's see if Nick Massey can give Richard Hines the push he needs down this back straightaway.
Yes, and just behind that there, we haven't talked much about our outside pole sitter as well. That's Wyatt Canadle in that 84 car. He's 3rd in line in that outside lane. They have all but been able to disrupt that inside line. And Wyatt doing all he can now. He's behind on the back bumper of Hines, but David Tooker in that 19 just switched lanes, and now that's going to hurt any progress made in that outside lane. Dale Jr. has been separated by Tyler Fode there. The 48 car has filled that hole, in between those two teammates.
Yes, he has. So smart call there by Nick Massey. And how about this from this group of cars? You've got Nick Massey now, just one car between him and his two teammates. That's big there for that 48 car. If he can join Bronson Stafford and Shane Therian, that could be a dangerous trio there. Again, teammates late in the race, that can be so crucial to your success, as being in the same part of the racetrack as your teammates. Being separated from them can hurt you so badly if you don't have a plan with other drivers around you. So right now, those guys can work with Tyler Fode, and I think will work with Tyler Fode, no problem. But when they all get together, if they all get together, that could be very scary for the rest of the pack. I'm going to keep saying that because, man, I think teammates can be so important, even though we just saw that last wreck caused between two teammates.
Yes, exactly. We talked about manufacturer loyalty and teammate loyalty and how you often need a dance partner to run here at Daytona. We see, unfortunately, from race control, Tate Lytle has retired from the race. Another race gone wrong here at Daytona. So sad there for the reigning champion, but we expect him to be back in regular championship form here later on. But yes, these teammates, right now the front top 5 are separated by two groups of teammates there.
Yeah, let's see how this plays out. This is a really intriguing top 5. Two different teams span the top 5. 3 cars, 1, 2 on the other. And then we get to kind of the rest of it. So these two teams have kind of figured things out right now. But again, still some time to play here. And that top lane hasn't completely died out. Richard Hines has been doing a great job kind of leading the way with that, and he's been getting good support here from Dallas Myhan. Remember, Dallas was involved in that last wreck, kind of had to go down below the apron to avoid it all, but not much damage to that 26 car, it doesn't look like. A little bit to the rear wing there, but still able to kind of keep in touch with the 87. Don't know if that's going to be enough, though, to push them to the lead, but they're definitely staying in touch here as they're now side by side with Tyler Fode in 3rd position. This top lane could potentially put something together, and that'd be impressive if they could. I think Myhand and Rucker both with some slightly damaged cars. Heck, even Jacob Adams in 4th in that lane with a slightly damaged car. I think Hines the only one with a clean car, and he's the one leading the way, and that's, I think, all you need.
Oh, we see a little bit of lag, though. 2nd, or I believe 4th in line. I believe that was from the 48 car. Nick Massey right there had a little bit of a glitch that could also stack up that inside road there, as you see Richard Hines there, and the 26 car trying to do all they can. Dallas Myhan, I am impressed. He was involved in that big wreck. And now we see a big blip from the 48 car. That's right in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr. This has been a known issue for the 48 car. We've seen this from last season, but that is going to be a problem, especially for Jr., who's right behind him, trying to see where that car is and where it's not there.
Yeah, Massey's just received the notification from race control. Let's take a look here. Yeah, Junior and Massey are just communicating there. Junior's letting him know that he's seeing that blinking. Looks like it's stabilized here. We'll see if there's any further communication, but in a case like this, sometimes where there's a lot of blinking, race control will have to come in and intervene and tell that 48, unfortunately, he has to pull over, because in close racing like this, the last thing you need is a car suddenly jumping a foot, at a foot or even inches away from where you originally thought it was going to be.
Exactly. That is under the rule book there. They will give you one warning, but if it does progress there, then you will have to go to the tail end of this lead pack, and that would be very unfortunate considering he has worked his way all the way up inside the top 5. But that's just really going to be hard, especially with tight quarter racing that we're seeing here tonight. You don't want to be the guy that causes a massive crash because suddenly you're there and then you're not.
Well,
see some 3 wide action there mid-pack. I saw Jacob Adams take a look underneath Andrew Rucker.
Decides better of it, though. Let's take a look here. This bottom lane staying in front and starting to extend a little bit, I think, on that top here. Let's take a look. Nick Massey, fortunately, has stabilized, and I think that's allowed these guys to maybe start pushing a little bit more, being a little bit more aggressive with each other on the bottom. So let's see. Not a ton of movement up or down, at least up front here. Not a lot of change leading these packs. A little bit further back as well. Guys, I think, pretty happy to sit in their respective lanes, but they are staying side by side at least, which is giving us some good back and forth here. Again, down this back straightaway, good pushes from that top lane. You want to be in the top on the back straightaway, but you want to be on the bottom in the corners. But you can't be both, at least in this current situation. So just trying to find out where you can maximize your advantage. Richard Hines back up ahead of the 88, trying to get ahead of the 48, but it is really just kind of a back and forth movement right now.
You have to wonder if these guys, we know we went last green, 45 laps of racing as they come across some lap traffic ahead to get around. That's going to jumble up this field. They're suddenly 3 wide, the 61 car and the 83. Do they move to the top side? They do.
Yes,
Out
they
of
do.
40 switches lanes. He goes to the bottom. Here comes the 83 car, and suddenly the 61 car in the sucker hole. Nowhere to go for Stafford, and here comes Richard Hines in that 81 car. He'll take the lead entering turn number 3. What a power move made by the 87 car, and Dallas Myhan in tow.
How about that? Incredible job there, and that's why you stay on that top line. That's why you stay organized, because when a situation like that comes, it's so easy to take advantage of disorganization on another line, and there you get race control. Johnny Thomas, your defending race winner, will not go for 2. He retires, but great thinking, and that's what you get from a driver like Hines. From my hand, what we've seen last season is you get a little bit more of that thoughtful racing where these guys are thinking their way ahead and thinking the strategy. Hey, maybe I don't have the fastest car. Maybe I don't have the perfect the way around the track or anything like that, but I can be smart about it. And if I put my car in the right position on the racetrack and the opportunity comes, I need to take advantage of that. And that's exactly what those two just did. Huge moves there. Richard Hines right now leading that bottom lane, and that's a powerful bottom lane, but he still has Shane Therian to deal with, who's still up top.
Yes, Shane doing a great job. Actually saw a little bit of a blip, actually, that time from Tyler Fody in that 40 car. Dallas Myhan's going to bring Andrew Rucker. No, Rucker goes to the bottom of the racetrack. Dallas Myhan stays up top. That 61 car slices in front of Hines in that 87 car. Is able to get to, once again, the back bumper of the 61, who's trying to call back. But here comes the 64, Andrew Rucker. He's shaken out of that bottom lane to the top side right there. That 61 car is a man on a mission, but that wounded Andrew Rucker machine is going to stall out any progress made in that outside lane.
Oh, yeah, that's so unfortunate there. And there, as the leader of the outside lane falls so far back there. Let's see if they can put together a run, but that could be discouraging for guys behind, as you see already. A lot of drivers kind of diving out of that top lane. Just kind of when Rucker came up there, they just kind of lost all momentum and just wasn't perfectly timed there. And there you can see the effect of how that happens and how quickly what looked like the stronger lane, they were really coming on strong and taking over that bottom, how quickly that dies out. You have to really capitalize on those brief opportunities that show themselves to you at these tracks. But let's see, Rucker and Myhan trying to make another opportunity for themselves. You know they have the advantage down this back straightaway. Let's see what they can do.
You know, I'm impressed by the 61 car. He was in the middle, going back in a big way there. He's been able to work his way back up to second place. Don't know exactly how that happened, but it's worked out where these teammates are once again nose to tail, running first and second, just in front of their other teammate, the 48 car, Nick Massey. They just switched positions through all that.
Yeah, they did. That's been pretty impressive here, and that gets interesting. And here we go. We have a car up top. Shouldn't have as much of an impact, I think, when the cars run the wall. So we'll see. It does take away a little bit of momentum on that top lane, and you're going to see this bottom lane for the first time a little bit faster there as the 40 blinking again.
Yes.
That could be more of a problem for Tyler Fody. We'll see. The 40 and the 48 both showing issues in recent laps. 48 stabilized quite a bit, though, since then. 40's been having a few blinks in the past couple of laps. But again, race control, I'm sure, is on top of that.
So we are just under 30 to go here at Daytona. We understand, as we see now a blip from the 48 car. Don't know necessarily who you want to be. Dale Jr.'s got to be thinking about, okay, one of you guys has got to fix your Wi-Fi connectivity here. Something has got to happen here. But it's in 30 laps to go. Now, keep in mind, these guys, we don't know as far as what the true race window is. I've heard people get as much as, 38 laps. Don't know exactly what the longest run that we've seen. Obviously, you were able to save more fuel on the back of the pack, then you are leading. But I expect that if everybody cannot save enough, that we're going to see a green flag pit stops here toward the end of this one, and it might come in the final 10 laps of this race.
Another blink there for the 48 and for the 40. Both those guys there, you see that actually affected us. Big blinks, actually. 48 missing, quite a bit here. Yep, and there's
that's got to be frustrating as well there for the 48 car. This is the most important race of the season here.
Yeah, 40 and 48 right now. Those guys are really struggling with internet connection, and that's not good. That's not what they need right now. And
exactly.
Yeah,
race control to have to put the ball in their court. What are they going to do here? That's a tough call to make there, Rasav. I'm glad I'm up in the booth and not up in the tower.
Yeah, you don't want to be the one to tell a driver to pull over for a reason that's not his, not his fault. But yeah, let's see. Dale Jr. I think actually just got on the radio saying, "Hang in there, try and see if you can rough it out." So great sportsmanship there from Jr. saying, "Hey, look, I'm happy to hold back a little bit right now. See if you can get that internet issue sorted out. I want to race you. I want to keep racing you." He's not trying to get these guys off the field.
So all that has allowed that outside line a fighting chance here with the 64. And it looks like the 48 car, yes, is just a warning only so far here as the lap's beginning to wind down here at Daytona. We started in the daytime. We're ending under the nighttime. Hopefully it's going to be the right time for one of these drivers here tonight. As we see most of the field now taken to the bottom of the racetrack. We do understand, though, these guys will have to go down pit road one more time. When do you decide to make the call to go down pit road? And if you do, what do you take? I have to imagine these guys would just be fuel only here. You think the tires would be able to hold out there for the last time we went back to green, which was those 45 laps to go?
So I think the way I would think about it is it depends on how much fuel. Because you're able to take tires and fuel at the same time, if you have to put in enough fuel in the car that allows you to do 2 outside tires, I'd take 2. If it's less fuel than that, if it's only a splash, then no tires. I think that kind of dictates, what you need to do. So you have to think about, okay, how much fuel do I actually need? How long does it take to put that much fuel in the car? How long does it take to put 2 tires on the car? Can I get all of that done without losing any time? So, again, these drivers kind of have to be their own crew chiefs a lot of the time, and they have to start thinking about those numbers and figuring out, okay, what is the right decision here? Because, obviously it's a super speedway. You generally don't wear the tires as much as you do at other racetracks, but you are still going to notice, I think, having worn tires compared to other drivers. So it all comes down to timing. I think these guys will be able to take 2 tires. We'll see when they come down pit road, but I think they'll have just enough fuel that they need to take that they'll have to put 2 tires on their car.
So most of the field now single file there, led by Shane Turner in that 83 car. Rookies up front. See Richard Hines there in that 87 car. Tyler Fody and Nick Massey, your top 5. Just outside of it, Andrew Rucker in that 64 car. Dale Earnhardt Jr. running along in the 7th position. David Tooker in the 8th position there. You see Kayla Thompson in the 04, and then Vincent Isabella are your top 10. 25 laps to go. Laps beginning to wind down.
Yeah, they certainly are. 25. We're inside that final quarter of the race, and the pressure starts to pick up. Guys maybe start looking to make runs, but right now we're actually seeing a little bit of a split-up group here as I think, guys, the pushing gets a little bit more intense. And we start to see a little bit more breakaways. So right now, single file all throughout the field. We'll see if anybody starts teaming up with each other, trying to see who decides to make the runs. But right now, guys may be a little bit comfortable to run all single file, or this could be indicative of pit stops coming up.
We'll see what happens here. We last went back to green with 45 laps to go. You take a look at the pit stop strategy there on your screen.
Yeah, if you pit around now, you'd be splitting this final group up 50-50. However, I don't think you really want to be doing that because you risk, putting yourself in a little bit of danger there if a caution comes out. That's a tough one there. I think you just kind of run it until the tank's empty. So expect to see these guys out here for probably another 10 to 15 laps.
What's different from Daytona versus the other speedways or just racetracks that we go to is the fact that at Daytona and Talladega, you kind of want to pit with somebody. You know, we can talk about undercut there or short pitting there at other racetracks there that could perhaps give you an advantage if you don't go a lap down here. But with Daytona being inside the draft, you're going to need that draft, because if you do decide to pit by yourself, like you said there, Rashav, you're going to find yourself by yourself with no drafting assistance here. 87 all over the back bumper of the 61 there. But that's not going to help you in your chance of getting to victory lane there by pitting by yourself. So these guys, not only do you have to pit, but you're going to want a partner to make sure that you don't lose the draft here. That's going to be on the minds of all these drivers here late in this one.
Absolutely, and just hearing from some of the drivers, right now, there are apparently a couple of drivers in the field who are good on fuel. Within 1 to 5 laps short is kind of the other drivers there, so this could be really close. I'm seeing some of the drivers who are out of the race commenting on this. Some of them saying it's impossible to save that much fuel. Some of them saying they've got drivers who are good. They have teammates who are good. So this could be very interesting. We could see a fuel saving run here that could lead a driver to victory. But it's going to have to be, you're going to have to stay in this pack. And the first driver name I've been given of somebody who still has fuel in the car and should have enough fuel to make it to the end is this 23 of Harrison Talon, down in 15th position.
Wow, he was stage 2 winner. He's been marred back there. Had that issue with the big one there coming out, but unable to receive any damage right there. So it's been able to rebound. So that would be quite the tale for this car if he could make it there, as we are about to get to 20 laps to go. Next time by, we're leading is that 83 car, his teammate right behind him in the 87, the 40, and the 48 are your top 5. We're going to briefly step away just one lap here, give you some sights and sounds here as we prepare to give you guys the final 20 laps here for tonight. So don't go anywhere. You're watching the Homeplace Daytona 500.
Back in then. All right, back at it here with what many drivers are calling here the slowest Daytona 500 ever. Just been following the lap times here recently, and there you can see that pace differential right now. This entire lead group is running at about probably a quarter throttle, running 51. Last time around, most of these drivers were running around the 49-second range. Fast laps for the day were around the 46-second range, so 3 seconds a lap slower than what they were doing before. That goes all down to that fuel saving that we were talking about before. You guys remember watching that dashboard, seeing drivers hitting about 192 miles an hour. They're a little bit quicker this time by. They're going up to about 190. They might actually get up there. But last time around, they were actually only hitting about, 174, 175. So interesting kind of on and off here. Maybe these top drivers have decided they've saved enough as this is really interesting here. Brent Jones, Shane Therian, So Brent Jones actually is your current leader of the race because he stayed flat out. I think he's going to go and try the splash. We got a bunch of different strategies playing out. This could be very, very intriguing.
Yes, and if a yellow flag comes out, then once again it changes everything. But yeah, we saw Scott Haney in that 3 car there just lead that charge in that outside line before falling back. And now we're seeing names that we have not talked about at all. Brent Jones, the 14 car, Smith, and then Haney now leading this field. I don't know. With drivers that have said that they can make it on fuel, splash and go is not going to be able to overcome that strategy. The best thing would be to stay on the track. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, so Brent Jones, Hunter Smith, Shane Therian actually back in front of Scott Haney. That's interesting, though, is as those guys went past, the pack that was really slow, they actually picked up their pace quite significantly because now they're worried about staying with those guys in front. So this is really intriguing here. We've got a fuel save race, but of course, it's still a race. You know, you want to stay in front. You want to, if you're watching this, I mean, these guys are flying away from the rest of the pack. Are they good on fuel? I mean, they pitted lap 154. They didn't pit any later than the rest of the pack. Everyone pitted during that same caution here. Wow, this is going to be really intriguing. Brent Jones, how about this? Leading the Daytona 500. He actually, of these top drivers, pitted a lap later than most of the top drivers here. So, I mean, is that 1 lap going to make a difference? 16 laps to go, we're going to find out.
You see the 31 car, Jared Campbell, has retired from the screen. It'll be 15 to go that time by, and you're right. This 4-group breakaway at the front of the field has now put a 4-second gap in front of the rest of that second now pack. You have to wonder there, will these guys be able to make it on fuel as we take a look, an aerial view of this 2.5-mile racetrack here. 15 laps to go, and it could come down to just a gallon of gas.
Yeah, this is going to be really tight. This is, wow. From a fuel-saving point of view, this is so intriguing because it is so close. They are right on the edge of the window, all of these drivers. I'm loving, though, what I'm seeing from these guys. I mean, Brent Jones, Hunter Smith, Shane Therian, Scott Haney, they're throwing caution to the wind here. They might be going here and hoping for a caution, or they're thinking they're good to go. This is interesting.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we didn't have the telemetry to know exactly what they were doing in that pack before, but they could have been saving a lot of fuel already before that, and that was my mindset there once we went back to green. If I was one of these drivers here, I'd be like, let's think of the worst case scenario and think about the car that's within this pack, though, that 83 car. He has not been saving as much fuel as we believe those other 3 that are around him there, because he has been leading. So he's in a world of hurt right here. I don't expect that 83 car to have a chance without some sort of yellow flag and or going down pit road.
Yeah, this is so interesting, and we're seeing here the difference, right? Here's Caleb Thompson leading second in the second pack here. Look at that speed differential, like 174 coming off of turn number 4 versus guys who are running 180. I mean, here you go. Bronson Stafford going to fly by these guys just by putting his foot down a little bit harder. It's really not that complicated, but the way this fuel calculations are playing out is pretty complicated, and every driver seems to have a different opinion on how to play this out. This is really, really crazy. 13 laps to go in this race. We're going to figure out probably with 5 laps to go when we get really close to it who's actually done the saving of the fuel and who's going to have to stop for a quick splash of gas.
And my question to you there, Rastav, what is it like when you run out of fuel? Is there something, I mean, I know these cars don't necessarily have like a fuel window there, but you are able to see the lap count there. How do you save fuel? And then more importantly, what can you do inside the race car to try and save you an extra lap and a half?
Yeah, so the biggest thing you can do is just less throttle. You know, you're putting less fuel into the engine. You're burning less fuel. You're igniting less fuel. That's the main thing that you do there is you just run less throttle. You lift quite a bit more, coast around the track. I don't know if these guys are fully coasting anywhere, but definitely not running full throttle. But this is really intriguing because 11 seconds already is the gap that these guys have pulled out in front. They're not going to be able to pit. They're not going to be able to pit and then come out with the 12 laps to go situation here. My guess is they've got to be expecting a caution to come out, and that's not a bold assumption to make here, is it? with how few laps are left in this race and some of the pace difference that we're seeing from guys passing through.
Yes, but then you also have to wonder about the attempt that we could see about green-white checkers. We have up to 3, so they're not necessarily out of harm's way yet. We would know that these guys would have to go down pit road here, as we see that Alec Belvan's in that 5 car, Matthew Weeks in the 45, trying to lead the charge in that outside line. It seems to be go time for these guys.
Yeah, so here's another group that I think they were saving fuel before, and now they've thought, okay, we're all good, let's go. So it's, you have a calculation, and Dale Jr. is one of those drivers who's saying, let's go now. You have a very loose calculation in what we call black boxes in iRacing, and you have that on your screen telling you how much fuel you're burning per lap. But also, I mean, like, it's so hard to gauge exactly right. I've had situations where my fuel number, it says I have, maybe 0.2 gallons left, or I have 0.2 laps left, maybe of fuel, and the car dies. So it's not an exact science in terms of what it's reading to you. So as a driver, that also makes you really nervous. So, it's happening.
Caution is going to come out because of that move to the outside wall. And just like that, we have a yellow flag with 10 laps to go. Rusty Capel can avoid it. The 98 car gets turned, and the 8 is also involved. Things got too close in turn number 1. Michael Hossack gets into the side of the 98, and then the 04 finishes him off.
Wow. Wow. So Justin Fortner, let's go back to that. Oh, misclicked there, but Justin Fortner. This incident, here we go. Justin Fortner. I don't know if that was netcode. That kind of looked like netcode there. Let's take a look at the replay.
If it was, or if he just thought perhaps he was clear there. Saw that earlier today with Jeff Green, just needed an extra foot. He gets behind the 0-2, he switches lanes. Yeah, I think he switches lanes. That 24 car is just there.
Switches lanes there, maybe a little bit of netcode help, but yeah, race control calls that, I think, on the 98 as well. So wow.
Almost looked like he saved at the 04.
Ooh, kind of finished him off,
yeah. Kind of swipes him into the outside wall right there.
And now do you pit? I mean, and guarantee that you make it to the end, especially with a green-white checker, or do you stay out, get that track position because you save fuel? I mean, this still adds interest to the race in my eyes. I think we're going to see everybody pit, though. Interesting call here.
Yeah, Brent Jones there was the leader when that happened. Man, I would have loved to have seen what that might have been like, though, had it run green.
Dustin Dewar, though, I like that call, and unfortunately not enough cars, I think, went with him, but it gives him the track position at least. Dustin Dewar to the front by staying out. He thinks he's saved enough that he can make it to the end here. This is still gonna be an intriguing finish, but with fuel, I think for the rest of these guys, it's now gonna be flat out.
Yes, definitely. I mean, there is no chance, and I think some of these guys are gonna also be taking tires as well. So not only do you have fuel out of the question, you have maneuverability back in the race car there. That's something that 32 car is not gonna be able to have there if they get around them.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're a fan of Hunter Smith, Brent Jones, I mean, you love that caution call. Both of those drivers are cheering right now because think about it. You guys were pushing, hoping for the caution, and that's exactly what happened right there. So right now, I mean, how about this? Dustin Dewar, Hunter Smith, and Brent Jones, your top 3 drivers there, all of them starting. Actually, Dustin Dewar starting inside the top 30, but Hunter Smith and Brent Jones both starting outside of that top 30. Craziness. Shane Therian actually starting outside of that top 30 as well. So, I mean, just pure chaos we've had tonight. But how about this running order right here with 8 laps to go?
Man, things are going to get wild here. They truly are.
Yeah, they really are. This is where the race gets really fun and really interesting because now all strategy's out the window. You're passing cars. You're just going for it. I think with eight to go, you've got to have that mentality of just going for it. And with that in mind, it's hard to pick kind of where's that limit of who's able to make moves because we've seen guys able to make moves in pretty short spans of time. I'd maybe say, you probably take anybody all the way back to, I keep looking at drivers and how strong they are through this field. maybe P18 Andrew Rucker, but then you've got Wyatt Knadel in 19th. He's been having a solid run here all night long. Oh man, there's
some drivers that are deep in this field here. I was looking for Harrison Talon here. I don't know exactly where he's dropped off. Unfortunately, might have had pit road miscue. I was surprised to see him not stay out for a driver that we had heard rumors about being able to make it there, but he's now back in the 18th position.
Yeah, so I think you had to have pit to save yourself from a green-white checkers situation. So it makes sense. So that's unfortunate for drivers who were in fuel save mode because they were slowing down. All that time they lost in track position they lost was for naught because of the caution that came out.
So what you're saying, though, you believe that we're not done with the yellow flag here, Rashad?
Oh, man, give me 7 laps at Daytona? Absolutely not. We're having another caution.
Things are about to get hairy here, folks, at the World Center of Racing. So glad you could be a part of it. This is everything that you would want as a fan. I believe the lights are still on top of the race car, so we will still have one more lap to go. But that means we will restart with 5 laps to go.
No, I think they might actually have just turned off there. It might have just been a bit of a reflection from the lights because these guys are double filed. They're ready to go.
Oh, yes. Well, I like it.
Yeah, quicker the restart, the better.
Here. The national anthem was sung by that 32 car. The driver of the 32 car, not the car. But don't know if he knows any other songs there. He might be hoping for a prayer. Because the rest of the field is going to be bearing down his neck. He is the control car there as we are back under green flag conditions with 6 laps to go in the Homeplace Beer Company Daytona 500.
Already Hunter Smith down to the bottom, so he leads now that bottom lane. And now, you've got to be worried about that top lane because Massey and Therian are lined up on that top. Matthew Weeks is still in this as well. Remember, he was involved in that huge crash earlier on that brought out a caution. He's back in this in 3rd position. Dale Earnhardt Jr. now stays up top, and he's going to lead that top lane side by side with Matthew Weeks. How about this? But right up ahead, it's the 48 as well as the 83 there leading the way. Big gap ahead of the rest of the field.
Yes, and things are starting to get hairy there between them as we see Dale Jr. try to use that outside lane to his advantage. Help from Jacob Adams in that 25 car. Meanwhile, the team car is trying to get away. The 48 and the 83 trying to say sayonara to the rest of the field. They are side by side for 3rd place on back. Dale Earnhardt Jr. doing all he can, but is that car heavily damaged, preventing him from making progress forward?
Yeah, let's see how this works. Okay, big run here. What's Dale going to do? Look at that. Wow. Dale Jr. to the inside and back to the outside. Dale Jr.
To the inside of the 48 and the outside of the 83 and help from Tyler Fody in that 40 car. 3 wide, 3 by 3 by 3 in contact.
Contact. Dale's in the wall. Harrison Talon's in the wall. The 84 is around.
Big hit. And the yellow flag is back out. Once again there, 3 wide, 4 rows deep, and a caution flag to end it here for several drivers, and their chance to go to victory lane at Daytona is over.
Wow. That all kicked off when they went 3 wide there through 3 and 4.
I saw the first car sideways with the 23 of Harrison Talon, but its momentum worked its way to the front for drivers that were ahead of this impact here, including fan favorite Dale Earnhardt Jr. Take a look. The teammates had broken apart. That's what set this whole thing in motion here. You see Talon get involved, and then yes, that was actually 2 separate incidences there happened because the 23 got turned, but that was behind the 88 car. He and I believe Andrew Rucker make contact there just ahead of the issue between the 23 and the other competitors behind them.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. Let's see if we can get another shot at what happened between the 88 and the 64. Let's take a look. Maybe that's a better angle. Not quite. All happens there. Then comes the bump from the 40 car.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right. The 40 was what sent Junior into the 64 car. So my mistake saying that the Rucker came into Junior.
Wow, so it all takes off there, and a lot of very good race cars taken out in that one. Dale Jr.'s out. You saw Harrison Talon got taken out there. There's, who is that? That's Josh Robin in the 8 car got taken out in that one. We saw a number of other strong drivers as well. See
And
who
again,
all's on pit road.
All that action really began when the teammates of the 48 and the 83 suddenly broke apart. That's what set off that big run by the 88 car, who was in the middle.
Oh, Brent Jones.
Like Superman right there.
Brent Jones, who had that fairy tale, was back up front. And netcode there. But Brent Jones damaged there. He got caught up in that incident. Dallas Myhan caught up there. Vincent Isabella as well. A lot of really great race cars. We mentioned Harrison Towett, Wyatt Canadal already as well. Caleb Thompson there. A lot of damage here. And you go back up to the front, and what does that look like? You've got Nick Massey, Jacob Adams. Both of those guys were great last season, looking to grab a win here. Shane Therian still in it as well. Andrew Rucker, that damaged 64 car, still very much in it. Same with Matthew Weeks. 2 big damaged cars and 2 former winners inside that top 5, and Tyler Fode still hanging on.
So we are going to have our first attempt at a green-white checker. Some of these cars up front are damaged. They're down, but definitely not out. And as we had mentioned there, we knew that caution flag was going to happen there. You just had to survive it.
Yeah, that was something else. So the 5 maintains position, forced to use pit road to use. Okay, so the 5 might have been given a penalty there, but stays in line. We'll see if he gains anything there, or if he got his black flags
that
cleared.
didn't really help him at all. The front end of that car is heavily damaged.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Looks like they're doubling up this time by Nick Massey and the 83 car. These guys were teammates. They didn't really look like teammates, though, on the backstretch before that big wreck here. We'll see what happens here.
Well, lights off on the pace car. Green-white checker situation. Let's see. Is this the one and only one, or do we have the first of many? Let's take a look here. This is going to be a really intriguing restart. We've got pretty equal chances at history here between repeat winner or a new winner here. Look out for that 11 car. Matthew Weeks very much involved. Tyler Fode always strong, but man, that 48, the 83. That duo is going to be hard to separate there, and those guys could be one of those guys walking away with the trophy tonight.
All right, so we are officially in overtime, as we had already mentioned there. The Homeplace Beer Company Daytona 500, down to its final 5 miles, the virtual center of racing. Pick a number, grab a driver, hope it works out for them here, because things are about to get hairy here at Daytona. Barry has the green flag in hand, and a shot to history happens in less than 2.5 miles. Green flag is back out. If they make it across the next flag, if they make it across the start-finish line, the next flag will end the race, whether it be the yellow or the checker. They are mixing it up in mid-pack, but that 25 car, Jacob Adams and the 11 of Matthew Weeks doing all they can to hang tough in that outside line. Will it be enough to destroy the teammates on the bottom side?
Doesn't look like it yet. They haven't quite gotten organized on the top. They were still fighting for positions there, and that means they've now lost out 2 car lengths to that lead group. They're going to start coming back there at the end of the back straightaway, but too little too late potentially. But the 83 and 48 not looking like teammates right now. They're all over each other. The 83 all over the bumper of that 48 car, and that could very easily turn into a bad wreck. But right now it's turning into a great push as the white flag waves.
1 lap to go here. This is the moment of the race. Nick Massey in that 48 car, pushed by his teammate Shane, doing all they can to try and dive away. The 40 car, there's a little bit of a gap between second and third. Will that be enough to fly around teammates on the bottom of the racetrack? Jacob Adams in that 25 car, the 11 car, he'll switch lanes. He now pushes the 61 behind them, but no one's been able to keep in tow. The 83 car, he has a shot. Does he push the 48 car to victory lane? Does he try and get around him?
Let's see, the
Turns 3 and
48's
4 for the final time.
Yeah, 48 separate a little bit. That's going to give the 83 a run coming off of turn number 4. It's going to be side by side for teammates here. This is going to be really interesting here. Therian stays in line. No, he doesn't. He goes up to the top. No, he stays in line. It is Nick Massey.
Massey will score the win in the Homeplace Beer Company Daytona 500. The 48 car back to victory lane again at the virtual center of racing.
Wow. Great teamwork there. Great job by Shane Therian to stay with his teammate, not go out. He actually went up to block the run by Tyler Fody is what he did. He was fully committed to that 48 car, and there you see those teammates all together. Bronson Stafford, Shane Therian, Nick Massey, great teamwork there, and even a congratulatory bump there from Tyler Fody as well. Nick Massey, though, incredible drive.
Yes, I mean, that whole team occupying 3 of the top 4 running positions. You see Matthew Weeks in the 11 car. Surprised that the 25 car wasn't able to really charge in that outside lane. But Nick Massey, the 6th different winner of the Daytona 500 for the Elite Racing League in the JoinAPS Cup Series. Congratulations to him in that Ford Mustang. He is the first driver to etch his name for a chance for a championship later this season. He's done it so on the biggest stage virtually.
Yes, he has, and it's celebration time for Nick Massey, getting to celebrate on the high banks right there in the middle of the tri-oval. What a drive he put on. What an incredible job to win this race. Wow. I mean, Nick Massey came onto the scene last season, put together a couple of wins and made his way into the championship 4. Fought for that championship, didn't quite get it done there, but to start the season off like this, to win at Daytona, what an incredible job. And that 48 car, man, in the short time he's been a part of this Cup Series, Nick Massey has been incredible and so impressive. And yeah, he's going to be a serious threat not only for future races here, but for the title as well. And I think he's going to go join his teammates midfield there for a little bit of a team photo there, celebrating on the infield of the Daytona Tri-Oval.
Yeah, they have a lot to celebrate here as we're about to try and get winners and podium finishers here tonight. Welcome to the post-race show here, the Elite Racing Network. Just a little over 11 o'clock on the East Coast, just over 8 o'clock on the West Coast. No matter where you're joining us, though, so glad you've been able to see some exciting racing action to begin the 2022 season here. Nick Massey's going to join us here in just a few moments, as well as we believe they're Shane and Tyler. Right now you can see them. Well, I saw this play out where the Penske cars did this there last season at the end for their award banquet. I don't know if they patented that move, but they've been able to do exactly just that. Replicated it here tonight. That's just a great show here, talking about how much of this is a team sport.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a team sport, and what an incredible job this team has done. It's a new team to the sport as well. I mean, Shane Therian, Bronson Stafford, rookies in the Cup Series, and to come in, finish second and fourth there, incredible job, and to have that mentality. I will say this, the engine finally blows up on that 61 car from the celebrations. You don't see a ton of drivers who are willing to do that for a teammate. That's not a common thing. So big shout out to Shane Therian, because a lot of drivers would take that and say, no, I'm getting that for myself. But for Therian, I think he saw that and said, no, I'm pushing my guy all the way until the very end there. And that's huge, and that's teammates, and that's why these guys stay together as teammates. That's pretty incredible there. And for Nick Massey here, should be pulling over here relatively soon for us to be able to talk to. And I think as
these guys have their phones in their race cars here, so
yeah, we'll be able to call him in here as he's sitting in there, and let's bring him in now. Nick Massey, man, Daytona 500 champion 2022A. You are the 6th different winner of this race. What an incredible drive. Just talk us through the race, talk us through your emotions right now.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. I mean, that was a blast, racing up there, pretty much top 5, top 10 all night, swapping the lead, swapping with Fody and Dale. I would, just awesome. And I can't thank, teammate Shane for pushing me there, that last green, white checkered. I definitely owe him big time right there.
Well, Nick, you mentioned it there. That last green white checkered was crazy. I want to talk a little bit about what happened there towards the end of this one. Was your blimping issue there, the connectivity issue? Did that kind of go through your mind? I mean, that must have been some sense of dread there. Were you worried that perhaps you might not have a shot to get this done here, and that you would have to go drop back to the back of the pack?
Yeah, it kind of happened like 2 or 3 times throughout that race, and it happened like 150, 170, somewhere in there, and it got real bad for about a lap or two, and I was ready to kind of drop to the end of the pack, but luckily it kind of cleared up, and I was able to maintain my position up there running the top 5, because that would have been huge if I had to give up all that track position. But yeah, that was definitely a huge worry that wasn't going to last the rest of the race.
Nick, I wanted to talk to you about that last lap there and the support you got from your teammate there, Shane Therian. Just in this sport, especially in racing in general, it's so much an individual style sport, but to have a teammate that I mean you can trust in, that'll push you all the way to a Daytona 500 win, who isn't going to kind of pull out and try and get it for himself. What does that mean to you to have someone there to kind of support you to grab that win?
Yeah, definitely I owed Shane and Bronson too. I mean, we were up there all night working together, and hopefully was planning to at least have a shot at it in the end, and it ended up working out. I think what really helped us there, that last green white checkered, is it was kind of a 3-car little breakaway there, so we had some options to kind of either push each other, maybe Shane was going to make a move coming off turn 4, but he stayed committed and was able to bring the 1-2 home for Sky Motorsports. So that's really awesome, and definitely owe him going forward this season for sure.
Well, Nick, you have a lot to be proud of here tonight. Going to give you the chance to shout out anyone and anything you'd like, because you are now a winner, the Daytona 500 for the Elite Racing Network. How cool is that?
Yeah, that's awesome. Especially on these plate tracks, like kind of the plan for tonight, coming into tonight, was to run at the back and let everybody wreck. But I kind of started top 10 and kind of was able to hang up there all night without any real incidents. So kind of game plan was totally different than what it was an hour before the race. So, but yeah, definitely shout out to you guys for putting on the broadcast. Hopefully it was a good one. It was a lot of fun racing. iRacing did a great job updating the package for this car. Shout out to my teammates, Bronson, Shane, Tom Bourne, who wrecked out early, unfortunately wasn't able to finish it with us. And then shout out to Jake Adams too, because he helped me a lot throughout that race. So overall, great night. Awesome to win the first race of the season for sure. That's always huge, and especially with my terrible luck, terrible track record at Daytona, it's awesome to come out here and run a good one.
All right, well, congratulations. Enjoy this one. Daytona 500 winner Nick Massey has a pretty nice ring to it.
Yes, sir. Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go, Nick Massey. Let's bring in then the man who pushed him all the way to the line there, Shane Therian, P2 here on your debut in the Elite Cup Series. Incredible night there, was running up front all night, but at the end of it, the first thing I really wanted to talk to you about was that decision right at the end to stick with your teammate there, Nick Massey, push him to the victory instead of pulling out and potentially risking both of your victories against an incoming Tyler Fode. Just talk about that decision to stick with that teammate there.
Yeah. Oh my God. I told Nick, I was like, listen, you better hold on because I am not getting off this bumper. And then my car got too hot just before we got to turn 3, and I kind of like heard my car bog just a tiny bit, and he gapped me, and I was like, no. So I lost any chance of getting back to him because I was going to take him. I was going to try and pass him because we had a good gap on Fode, but man, I can't believe we finished 1-2 in the Daytona 500 for this league. This is awesome. Doing 200 laps at this track on a controller, though, my God, I don't think I ever want to do that again.
Oh, well, that adds a wow. We did not know here, folks. This is breaking news just into the newsroom here. A controller was used to a podium finish. That is impressive there. But I want to talk about how much this race is about strategy and teammates there. And we hadn't seen you guys very close together early in the beginning, but toward the later stages, I mean, we mentioned you guys, you yourself a rookie in this lobby racing against veterans like Tyler Fode and Dale Earnhardt Jr. What was that like? And then what did you learn that you believed helped you get to the podium run here tonight?
Oh, I didn't really get to learn anything until like lap 140 when I finally to the pack because I missed the start because I had audio issues. Got my lap back, but lost the draft both restarts. And finally, somehow, some way, I got back to the front and kind of just I don't really know. I just kind of went where the momentum was and kept it up front with my teammates Bronson and Nick. And I thought I was gonna destroy Dale Jr. though when he took us 3 wide. I was like, oh no. But yeah, this was insane. I've raced with Fody before, but not in this big of a race. So this was insane.
Yeah, man. I mean, you put on one heck of a show, and I think put the league on notice, stepping up into the Cup cars. I mean, what for you? I mean, you had great success in the Truck Series when you stepped in there last season. What's been the biggest change stepping into these Cup cars, and for what are your realistic expectations for the season? Because already, I mean, starting out with a P2, it's tough to go too much further up from there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, in the trucks last year, in the season opener, I gave up a win so my teammates could win. To block the outside line, and then once again the season opener, I didn't get off my teammate's bumper, and it cost me a win. So my expectations are just to stay in the points. It's going to be hard to win. I know that. Hopefully, with this updated package on these cars, it's going to come down to more drivability than full throttle and hang on. So I don't know. I expect at least a win. I'm not sure, but we'll have to see. But man, I'm pretty happy with the second place in this race.
All right. Well,
All right.
with
Well, I want to give you a chance to shout out to anyone and anything that you'd like here tonight. Here, you earned it, especially being on a controller.
Yeah, I want to just shout out my team, Sky Motorsports, our sponsor, Flat Out Racing Network, all painted by Matt Muir. He's incredible. We decided to go with the Rainbow Brigades. We all have different colors. Mine's more meaningful to me. It's for autism awareness because it runs in my family, so I run the purple. Um, so thanks to them, and thanks for the league for letting us in. This is going to be an incredible season.
Yeah, man, incredible start to the season, and yeah, once again, congratulations. Give those thumbs a rest. That must have been rough on the controller.
Yeah, my fingers are all popped right now. So
all right, man, go enjoy that with your team there. 1-2-4, not a bad way to start this season.
no, not at all. Thank you.
All right, there you go, Shane Therian. What an impressive debut by him in the Cup Series. And we'll bring in the vet here. Knows how to get the job done, but unfortunately today just came up a little bit short. Tyler Fody, exciting night for sure. Was running up front all night long. That's kind of the standard thing with you here at Daytona and Talladega. Just a little bit short though there at the end. Just talk us through your night. Your emotions right now. P3 in the 500 is not a bad result at all, but I'm sure you might be hoping you had a little bit more the way that car was running.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I'm satisfied. I'll take it. But, man, it was a long night. We were up there for a while. Just didn't come together really in the end when we needed it to. I caught a little bit. I mean, I kept it clean all night, and I caught a little bit of damage in that very last wreck on the nose. But, I mean, I was working with the FRN guys a little bit here and there. And, yeah, I mean, that last lap, really, when I realized they were side by side behind and there was that little breakaway, I was already trying to time the run coming to the white because I knew it was going to take the whole entire lap with the damage. And at that point, I really needed some help behind me, but doing what I could with what I had there. I was hoping Shane would maybe try and make it a crazy finish going side by side with Massey, but I don't think he could suck up to him either. But no, I mean, to finish that, really with how the week has gone, I've been in a position to win in the truck and the Xfinity, and I've gotten wrecked coming to the line. So to be able to finish and get a top three, I'm happy with it.
Tyler, we saw you working very well with Dale Earnhardt Jr. there all night. Explain what that was like with him there. Then also what kind of happened there, that last big restart right there. We noticed, did you just touch him? It looked like the two of you made contact there exiting turn 4. That kind of ended his night there, but we don't know exactly what transpired.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the whole night was pretty awesome. This goes all the way back to the Dega race we had last season, if y'all remember running with Junior and Jeff. So it was cool to have him back in the chat. This time running with me and Vince. Was working well. I mean, y'all saw we were controlling the lines. We were doing our thing. He ended up catching a little damage later on in the race. But yeah, the last 10 laps or whatever, when we were coming down to crunch time, made it 3 wide. I don't know how much the cameras caught of it, but went to the middle to push him. And then coming off 4, we were pretty much square and even. And from what I've heard, I haven't seen the replay with at least how race control called it, was, I guess, Rucker above Junior there, came down a little bit and they net coded, pulled him in. But I mean, overall, it was cool to be running with him. You know, I think he's liking it, so he might be back.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to kind of represent Elite in that sense and try to get him back into more of these races because, I mean, every race he's been a part of, at least so far, has been pretty interesting and pretty intriguing to follow, and certainly brings a crowd here. So that's been pretty cool to have him there, and I'm sure cool for you to get to work with him over the course of a race like this. Talk to us about the season ahead. Obviously, due to a number of reasons there, missed out on the chase last season, but to start out here, P3 at Daytona, a lot of points on the board already, kind of sets you up, but long season ahead. What do you need to make sure now? Obviously, I guess now moving your focus probably towards the championship.
Yeah, just consistency, really. Just got to be there every race, which I think we'll have a much better time going about it this season, especially with the update. Now it's not just crazy pack racing. You know, last season pretty much anyone could win. It got everybody shuffled up, and then you miss a few races, and the next thing you know, you're out of contention. So now this year, you're going to have to drive the car a little more. So I think we'll see it more spaced out. Some of the better guys rising to the top. Should be fun. But overall, yeah, I think just staying consistent, make it into the chase, go from there.
Alex?
All right, Tyler. Well, just want to give you the chance once again to shout out anyone and anything that you'd like here. Looking forward to a great 2022 season with you there, and congratulations on that third place. Excuse me. Sorry.
Yeah, well, shout out to the Lake Norman guys. Obviously, I guess we can consider Junior an honorary member again tonight. But Vince too. He was running well. All three of us were working well together. Just Daytona, you know, circumstances in the end there prevented us from being all there in the end. But happy to run with them as always. And also shout out to, I guess, the team's crew chief, Adam Benefiel, came on board, was kind of walking us through some of the fuel strategy, tire strategy, and when the runs were coming, all that. So huge shout out to him. Shout out to you guys for hanging on with the broadcast all night. I'm sure it was fun. I'll have to watch it back. But yeah, and shout out to Chad, I guess, for putting this on too, getting big names like this to come in. Look forward to racing with more of these guys in the future.
All right, congratulations again there. P3 finisher tonight in the 500, Tyler Fody. Whew. How about that? 3.5 hours there since we went live to bring you guys the brief pre-race show here at Daytona Beach, Florida. We've crowned our 6th ever Elite Racing Daytona 500 champion. And well, the circus is packing up and already getting ready to move on to Pennsylvania next week for racing at Pocono.
Yeah, I can't believe it. Doesn't seem very much so that the season is already, here. But I know this time next week we'll be seeing who's going to be on the front row for the real Daytona 500 here. That'll be nice to talk to there. But another congratulations is in order for Nick Massey, winner of tonight's Homeplace Daytona 500. Gotta give a shout out to all these drivers. I mean, it is not easy to do a 500-mile event and to have the type of racing, the skill needed to compete and put on a great show is definitely not forgotten here. And I think every driver that was able to finish here tonight, even drivers that, unfortunately were unable to finish there, they're driving their skills, their ability to put on a great show here for you guys, for us to talk about there, as unparalleled. I'm so happy to once again be in the booth here and bring you an exciting season here.
Yeah, it's going to be It's going to be pretty incredible. I think we've got some great drivers, great additions to the field this year. Like I mentioned, the calendar is going to be really exciting, and starting off with 3 big ones: Daytona, Pocono, and Michigan. And that one I think is going to be a great way to start this season. So, yeah, we're bringing it all to you guys here on the Elite Racing Network Wednesday nights. Make sure you guys are tuned in. Make sure you guys are subscribed, because not only Cup Series action is happening, but so is IndyCar kicking off this Friday. Can't wait to be there. I'm going to be on the ground there, in the paddock, listening into the drivers and helping you guys out there. Mark Gillespie back with the call, recovering from a concussion from earlier in 2021. So we've got it all going on here. Don't forget the B Series, the C Series, the trucks, the Indy cars, the Formula One cars. It's all here, and the Elite Racing League on the Elite Racing Network.
Yeah, so once again, congratulations to Nick Massey there. So glad you could join us here. Be sure you do it once again here as we begin the season. Race number 2 at Pocono. Going to be at 8:30 next week here on Wednesday here. But from all of us here from the virtual center of racing, so long. We will see you guys next time.